My name is Levi Haskins, and I've been driving trucks across Nebraska's endless highways for 22 years. People who don't know this state think it's just corn and emptiness, but they're wrong. There's something about these roads at night, especially the stretch between North Platte and Grand Island on I-80, that makes even veteran drivers nervous. Maybe it's the way the darkness seems thicker here, or how the radio signals fade in and out like something's interfering with them. Maybe it's the stories we tell each other at truck stops, about drivers who took familiar routes and never arrived, their rigs found abandoned with the engines still running. I learned to respect these roads early in my career. My first trainer, an old-timer named Wallace, told me something I never forgot. Nebraska highways don't forgive mistakes, and they sure as hell don't forget faces. You drive these roads long enough, they start recognizing you. And sometimes that's not a good thing. I thought he was just trying to scare the rookie, but after what happened in November 2021, I understand what he meant. The roads do remember, and sometimes they follow you home. It started on a Tuesday night, hauling a load of agricultural equipment from a manufacturer in Kearney to a distribution center in Council Bluffs. The weight was good, about 68,000 pounds, perfectly legal with my permits. The weather forecast showed clear skies, which in November meant cold but dry. I'd made this run probably 300 times over the years, knew every mile marker, every rest stop, every speed trap. The Freightliner Cascadia was running smooth, just had her service the week before. New tires, fresh fluids, everything by the book. I pride myself on maintenance. A well-maintained truck is a safe truck, and safety is what keeps you alive out here. I left Kearney at 9 p.m., planning to reach Council Bluffs by 2 a.m. The first hour was routine. Light traffic, mostly other commercial vehicles. The temperature gauge showed 28 degrees outside, cold enough to keep you alert but not dangerous. I had a thermos of black coffee, a bag of beef jerky, and an audiobook about World War II playing through the speakers. The kind of night I actually enjoyed. Just me, the truck, and the open road. No dispatcher breathing down my neck, no tight deadline, no complications. Around 10:30 p.m., passing through Grand Island, I noticed the first vehicle, a dark sedan, looked like a Crown Victoria or similar, about a quarter-mile back. Nothing unusual about that. Lots of cars on I-80, even at night. But this one matched my speed exactly. When I pushed to 70, it pushed to 70. When I eased back to 65, it did the same. Still, I didn't think much of it. Sometimes drivers unconsciously pace trucks, especially at night. Gives them a sense of security, following those bright tail lights through the darkness. By the time I reached the Aurora exit about 40 minutes later, the sedan was still there. Same distance, same speed. That's when the first prickle of unease hit. I'd changed lanes several times, adjusted speed, even pulled into the right lane and slowed to 60 to let them pass. But they didn't pass, just hung back there, maintaining that exact quarter-mile gap. I could see their headlights in my mirrors, steady as a heartbeat. I grabbed my CB radio, switched to channel 19. Breaker, breaker, this is eastbound at mile marker 332. Anybody else seeing this dark sedan? Been pacing me for 50 miles. The response was static, then a couple of truckers confirming they were too far ahead or behind to see. One driver, though, said something that made my skin crawl. Careful out there, driver. Had a friend get followed through Nebraska last month. Never found out who it was, but they stayed with him all the way to his delivery. Spooked him so bad he changed routes for a month. The sedan continued following as I passed through York. By now, I was definitely nervous. I'd been driving long enough to know the difference between coincidence and intention. This was intention. I decided to test it. There was a rest area coming up near Seward. I'd pull in, see what they did. If they pulled in too, I'd know for sure something was wrong. If they kept going, I could chalk it up to paranoia and weird timing. I signaled early, giving plenty of warning, and took the exit to the rest area. It was one of the newer ones, well lit, with separate truck and car parking. A few rigs were already parked for the night, drivers catching their mandatory rest. I pulled into a spot where I could see the entrance in my mirrors and kept the engine running. The sedan took the exit too. My heart rate picked up. But instead of following me to the truck parking, it went to the car area, parked under a light pole, and sat there, engine running, visible exhaust in the cold air. I waited 5 minutes. 10. The sedan didn't move. Nobody got out. I couldn't see through their windows from this distance, but I could feel them watching. Finally, I decided to move. I pulled out of the rest area and back onto I-80. Sure enough, within 30 seconds, those headlights appeared in my mirrors again. Same distance, same pace. But now I knew it wasn't coincidence. I was being followed. The rational part of my brain tried to find explanations. Maybe it was DOT doing some kind of surveillance. Maybe it was a private investigator mistaking me for someone else. Maybe it was just some weird coincidence, a driver going to the same destination who happened to stop when I stopped. But the experienced part of my brain, the part that had kept me alive for 2 decades on these roads, knew better. This was something else, something deliberate, something wrong. I called my dispatcher, Janet, even though it was late. She answered on the 3rd ring, sounding tired. "Levi, everything okay with the load?" I explained the situation, trying not to sound paranoid. There was a pause, then she said, "You want me to call state police?" I thought about it, but what would I say? A car is driving the same direction as me on a major interstate? They'd laugh. "No," I told her. "Just wanted someone to know. I'll call back if anything happens." Between Seward and Lincoln, a second vehicle joined the sedan. This one was a pickup truck, dark-colored, maybe blue or black. It positioned itself about a 1/4 mile ahead of me, matching speed just like the sedan behind. Now I was boxed in. One in front, one behind, both maintaining perfect distance. My mouth went dry. This was coordinated. This was planned. I tried changing lanes suddenly without signaling. Both vehicles matched the movement within seconds. I slowed to 55, well below the speed limit. They slowed too. The other truckers on the road started noticing, talking about it on the CB. "You see that eastbound? Those 2 vehicles got that Freightliner boxed in tight." Another voice. "That ain't right. You need help, driver." But what help could they offer? Ram the vehicles? Call the cops and report suspicious but not illegal driving? As we approached Lincoln, I made a decision. I'd take the bypass, Highway 77 north, instead of continuing on I-80. It was out of my way, would add an hour to the trip, but I needed to know if they'd follow. I waited until the last possible second, then swerved across 2 lanes of traffic to make the exit. Horns blared, tires screeched, but I made it. The sedan tried to follow but missed the exit. The pickup ahead shot past, unable to react in time. For a moment I thought I'd lost them. Highway 77 was darker than I-80, fewer lights, less traffic. I pushed the speed, doing 75 in a 65 zone. Figuring a speeding ticket was better than whatever those vehicles wanted. My hands were shaking slightly on the wheel. In 22 years of driving, I'd dealt with aggressive drivers, bad weather, mechanical failures, even a couple of attempted hijackings. But I'd never felt hunted like this. Never felt like prey. 10 miles up Highway 77, I saw them again. Both vehicles. They must have taken the next exit and doubled back, or maybe they knew I'd try this route. The sedan was behind me again, the pickup ahead. Same formation, same distance. But now we were on a smaller highway, less witnesses, fewer exits. The smart play would have been to turn around, head back to Lincoln, find a police station. But something stubborn in me refused. I wasn't going to let them herd me like cattle. I was going to make my delivery, and if they wanted to follow me all the way to Council Bluffs, so be it. That's when the third vehicle appeared. Another sedan, this one white or silver, coming from a side road near Wahoo. It pulled in beside me, in the left lane, and matched my speed exactly. Now I had 3 vehicles surrounding me. One ahead, one behind, one beside. They had me completely boxed in. The sedan beside me had tinted windows, but I could make out the shape of the driver. They turned their head toward me, and even though I couldn't see their face, I knew they were staring. I keyed the CB again, my voice steadier than I felt. This is the Freightliner northbound on 77 near Wahoo. I've got 3 vehicles boxing me in. Dark sedan behind, dark pickup ahead, light sedan beside. Been following me since Grand Island. If something happens to me, company is M&D Trucking, load number 4471, bound for Council Bluffs. Several voices responded immediately, offering to call police, asking for exact mile markers, telling me to stay calm. One voice, though, sent chills down my spine. It was weak, full of static, barely audible. They got me the same way last week. Don't stop. Whatever you do, don't stop. The formation continued for another 15 miles. They moved in perfect synchronization, like they'd practiced this. When I had to slow for a curve, they all slowed together. When the road straightened and I accelerated, they matched it instantly. It was almost hypnotic, the way they moved. Like a dance. A deadly dance with my truck at the center. Near Fremont, things changed. The pickup ahead suddenly slowed dramatically, forcing me to brake hard. The sedan beside me swerved closer, nearly clipping my mirror. The sedan behind accelerated, coming up fast. They were closing in, tightening the box. My exit was coming up. Highway 275 toward Council Bluffs. But I realized they weren't going to let me take it. They were going to force me to continue north, away from my destination, toward the isolated farmlands. That's when Deputy Orville Dunn saved my life, though I didn't know his name yet. A sheriff's cruiser appeared behind the sedan that was tailing me, lights flashing. The effect was immediate. The sedan beside me accelerated and disappeared into the darkness ahead. The pickup took an exit. The sedan behind me slowed, letting the cruiser pass, then turned off onto a side road. Within 30 seconds, all 3 vehicles were gone, vanished like they'd never existed. The cruiser pulled alongside me, and the deputy gestured for me to follow him to the next exit. I did, my hands still shaking, my shirt soaked with sweat despite the cold. We pulled into a gas station in Fremont, well lit, cameras everywhere. The deputy got out, a tall, thin man with tired eyes and a week's worth of stubble. "You Levi Haskins?" he asked. I nodded, confused how he knew my name. "Dispatcher called us," he explained. "Said you might be in trouble. Want to tell me what happened?" I explained everything, from Grand Island to now. Deputy Dunn listened without interrupting, occasionally nodding or making notes in a small pad. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment, then said, "This is the 4th report like this we've had this month. Same stretch of road, same pattern, 3 vehicles, boxing in a truck, trying to force them off their route." I asked if they'd caught anyone, found out who was doing it. He shook his head. "Vehicles always disappear when we show up. No plates visible on dash cams, like they know exactly where our cameras are and how to avoid them." "What do they want?" I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted to know the answer. Deputy Dunn looked at me for a long moment like he was deciding how much to tell me. Finally, he said, "We don't know for certain. But the one driver who did stop, who did get forced off the road. He paused, choosing his words carefully. His truck was found 3 days later in a field near Dodge. He was still in it. Doors locked from the inside. No signs of violence. But he was dead. Coroner couldn't find a cause. Just dead. My blood felt like ice water. What do you mean, couldn't find a cause? Deputy Dunn shrugged. Heart wasn't damaged, no drugs in his system, no wounds, nothing. Like he just stopped living. And there was something else, his logbook, the last entry. All it said was, "They're in my head." I stared at him, trying to process this. It sounded insane. But then again, so did being followed by 3 coordinated vehicles for 100 miles. "What should I do?" I asked. "Can you escort me to Council Bluffs?" Deputy Dunn shook his head. "Out of my jurisdiction once you leave the county, but I can follow you to the county line, and I'll radio ahead to the next department. We'll try to keep eyes on you." It wasn't much, but it was something. I thanked him and got back in my truck, now acutely aware of how vulnerable I was in this metal box, alone on the highway. Deputy Dunn followed me as promised, staying close as we got back on the highway and headed toward Council Bluffs. For 30 minutes, nothing happened. No mysterious vehicles, no coordination, just normal traffic. I started to relax slightly, thinking maybe the deputy's presence had scared them off for good. But as we approached the county line where Deputy Dunn would have to turn back, I saw them again. All 3 vehicles. Waiting on an overpass, watching. As soon as the deputy's cruiser turned off, they descended the on-ramp and resumed their positions. Front, back, side. But this time something was different. The sedan beside me, the driver's window was down despite the cold, and I could see the driver clearly. It was a woman, young, maybe 30s, with long dark hair. She was staring at me, and her lips were moving, like she was talking, or singing, or chanting. I couldn't hear her over the engine noise, but I could see her mouth forming the same words over and over. The same pattern, the same rhythm. I tried to ignore her, focus on the road, but I couldn't help glancing over. Each time I did, she was still staring, still mouthing those words. And I swear, even though it's impossible, even though there's no way I could have heard her from inside my cab at highway speeds, I started to hear her voice, soft at first like a whisper in the back of my mind, then louder, clearer. She was saying my name. Over and over. Levi Haskins. Levi Haskins. Levi Haskins. My hands tightened on the wheel. This was impossible. I was imagining it. Had to be. Stress and exhaustion playing tricks. But the voice continued, and now it wasn't just saying my name. It was saying other things. Things only I knew. My daughter's birthday. My ex-wife's maiden name. The street I grew up on. Details of my life that no stranger could know. Details that made my skin crawl and my heart race. I reached for my phone, planning to call 911, screw the jurisdiction issues. But as I did, all 3 vehicles suddenly accelerated and disappeared into the darkness ahead. Just gone, like they'd never been there. The voice in my head stopped too, cut off mid-sentence. I was alone again. Just me and my truck, and the dark highway stretching toward Council Bluffs. I made it to the distribution center without further incident, delivered my load, and thought about staying in Council Bluffs until daylight. But I had another pickup scheduled in North Platte the next afternoon, and I needed to get back. Besides, I told myself, maybe it was over. Maybe they'd had their fun, whatever sick game they were playing, and moved on to torment someone else. I was wrong. So very wrong. The return trip started normally enough. I took I-29 south to I-80 west, figuring a different route might help. The sun was just starting to rise as I left Council Bluffs, painting the sky orange and pink. Morning traffic was picking up. Commuters heading to work. Normal people living normal lives. I envied them. They didn't know about the things that hunted on these highways at night. They didn't know about the vehicles that moved like pack animals, surrounding and isolating their prey. I stopped for breakfast at a truck stop near the I-29 I-80 interchange. Sat at the counter, ordered eggs and bacon, tried to act normal, but I kept watching the parking lot, looking for those 3 vehicles. Several other drivers were there, and I thought about telling them what happened, warning them. But what would I say that wouldn't sound crazy? Hey, watch out for 3 cars driving in formation. They'll follow you and maybe kill you with their minds? An older driver sat down next to me, a guy named Pete, who I'd seen around for years. He took one look at me and said, "You look like hell, Levi. Rough night?" I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. He leaned in closer, lowered his voice. Was it them? The followers? I turned to stare at him. "You know about them?" He nodded grimly. "Been hearing stories for months. Drivers getting followed through Nebraska, always 3 vehicles, always at night. You're lucky you made it through." "What are they?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Pete shook his head. "Nobody knows for certain. Some say it's organ harvesters. Some say it's a cult. Some say it's something worse." I wanted to ask what could be worse, but I wasn't sure I wanted to know. Pete continued, "Friend of mine, Roy, got followed last month. Said the woman in the car beside him, she wasn't right. Her face kept changing. Like she was wearing different masks, but masks made of skin." I told him about the woman mouthing words, about hearing her voice in my head. Pete went pale. "You heard her? Actually heard her?" I nodded. He pushed his plate away, appetite gone. "Roy heard her too. Said she told him things. Secret things. Things about his past. Things he'd never told anyone." Week later, he quit driving. Sold his truck, moved to Florida, won't even talk about what happened. "Should I report it?" I asked. "To who?" Pete replied. "Cops think you're crazy. Company thinks you're unreliable. Other drivers." He gestured around the truck stop. "Half of them won't believe you. The other half are too scared to talk about it. No, best thing you can do is change your route. Drive days only, and never, ever stop if you see them again." I finished my breakfast, though it tasted like cardboard, and got back on the road. The sun was fully up now, bright and warming. I-80 westbound was busy with daytime traffic. Normal, safe. I started to relax, thinking maybe Pete was right. Maybe they only hunted at night. Maybe I was safe in daylight. But as I passed through Omaha, I saw it. The white sedan. Sitting in traffic 3 lanes over, matching my speed. The windows were up this time, tinted, but I knew it was them. They were following me in broad daylight now. I kept my speed steady at 65, watching the white sedan in my peripheral vision. It stayed exactly 3 lanes over, never getting closer, never falling back. When traffic forced me to change lanes, it would adjust too, maintaining that precise distance. I tried to get a look at the driver, but the angle in the tinted windows made it impossible. All I could see was the shape of a person, motionless, focused straight ahead. The rational part of my brain said it was coincidence. Omaha was a big city, lots of people heading west on I-80. But my gut knew better. They were still hunting me, and now they didn't care about daylight. At the next rest area near Gretna, I pulled off to use the bathroom and splash cold water on my face. The white sedan didn't follow, just continued west, and I felt a moment of relief. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe the stress from last night was making me see patterns that weren't there. But when I got back on the highway 10 minutes later, There it was again. 3 lanes over. Same speed. Like it had been waiting for me to catch up. That's when I realized they must have multiple vehicles, switching out, taking turns. This wasn't 3 people in 3 cars. This was an organized group with resources and planning. I called Janet again, told her about the continued surveillance. She was quiet for a moment, then said, "Levi, I just got off the phone with another driver, Marcus Wells. He's reporting the same thing. 3 vehicles following him through Kansas right now. Started last night just like yours." My grip tightened on the phone. "It's not just me." She confirmed it wasn't. 2 other drivers from different companies had reported similar incidents in the last 12 hours, all in the Nebraska-Kansas-Iowa corridor. "I'm calling the FBI," she said. "This is interstate stalking. Maybe worse. Keep your doors locked and don't stop unless you absolutely have to." The white sedan stayed with me all the way to Grand Island, where I had to stop for fuel. I chose the busiest truck stop I could find, one with dozens of rigs and constant traffic. Security cameras everywhere. As I fueled up, I watched for the sedan but didn't see it in the lot. However, I did notice something else. A woman standing by the coffee shop entrance, pretending to look at her phone but clearly watching me. Mid-30s, long dark hair, wearing jeans and a Nebraska Cornhuskers hoodie. She looked normal, like any traveler, but something about the way she held herself, the intensity of her observation, set off alarm bells. I finished fueling and went inside, needing to use the bathroom and grab some food for the road. The woman followed, staying about 20 feet back, browsing merchandise she had no interest in. When I went to the bathroom, she positioned herself where she could see the door. When I came out and went to the food counter, she moved to a spot where she could watch me in the reflection of the windows. I'd been in enough dangerous situations to recognize surveillance when I saw it. This woman was definitely with them. I decided to confront her, walking directly toward her. She immediately turned and headed for the exit, moving fast but not quite running. I followed, but by the time I got outside, she was getting into a blue SUV parked near the edge of the lot. Not one of the 3 vehicles from last night, which confirmed my suspicion about multiple vehicles. She drove off quickly, but not before I got a partial plate number. Nebraska plates, starting with 4G. I wrote it down and texted it to Janet. Back in my truck, I sat for a moment trying to think. They were tracking me somehow. My phone? The truck's GPS? Or were they just that organized, with spotters at every major truck stop? I turned off my phone's location services, though I doubted it would help if they were really that sophisticated. Then, I had another thought. What if they had someone inside the trucking companies? Someone feeding them information about routes and schedules. It would explain how they knew exactly where to find their targets. I pulled back onto I-80, and within 5 minutes they were back. All 3 vehicles from last night, plus the white sedan. 4 vehicles now, boxing me in completely. Front, back, both sides. But this time they were more aggressive. The pickup in front kept tapping its brakes, forcing me to slow. The sedans on either side drifted closer, sometimes just inches from my truck. They were trying to force me to stop, or maybe trying to cause an accident that would force me to stop. I grabbed the CB radio, broadcasting on the emergency channel. "Mayday, Mayday, this is truck 4471 westbound on I-80 near Wood River. I'm being actively harassed by 4 vehicles trying to force me off the road. Nebraska plates, requesting immediate police assistance." The response was immediate. Multiple truckers confirmed they could see what was happening, and several said they were calling 911. One driver, eastbound, said he'd already seen 2 state trooper cars heading west at high speed. The vehicles must have been monitoring the CB because they immediately backed off. The 2 sedans taking the next exit, the pickup accelerating away. Only the white sedan remained, hanging back now, just following. When the state troopers appeared in my mirrors a few minutes later, even that vehicle disappeared, taking an exit and vanishing into rural Nebraska. The troopers pulled me over near Shelton, and this time I got 2 officers, both taking this very seriously. "We've been briefed on this situation," the senior officer, Sergeant Kim, told me. "FBI is setting up a task force. These people, whoever they are, have been doing this across 3 states for at least 6 weeks that we know of." I asked him about the driver who died, the one Deputy Dunn had mentioned. Sergeant Kim nodded grimly. "Thomas Brennan. Good driver, no health problems. Whatever happened to him, it wasn't natural, and he's not the only one. We've got 2 more suspicious deaths and 5 missing drivers. All reported similar harassment before they disappeared." "What do they want?" I asked, though I'd been asking myself the same question for hours. Sergeant Kim shook his head. "We don't know yet. It's not robbery. The trucks are found with cargo intact. It's not standard hijacking. Best theory right now is that it's some kind of game to them, hunting truckers for sport. But that's just a theory." He gave me his card, told me to call immediately if they showed up again, and offered to escort me to North Platte. I accepted gratefully. The escort worked. No mysterious vehicles appeared during the hour-long drive to North Platte. Sergeant Kim stayed with me until I reached the warehouse where I was supposed to pick up my return load, steel beams heading to Denver. He waited while I got loaded, then followed me to a secure truck stop where several other drivers were spending the night under police protection. It felt like being in a fortress, but I wasn't complaining. I needed sleep, and I wasn't going to get it without security. That night, I met 3 other drivers who'd been targeted. Marcus Wells, the one Janet had mentioned, was there. So was a woman named Linda Rodriguez and an older driver named Carl Peterson. We sat in the truck stop's diner, comparing notes. The pattern was identical for all of us. 3 vehicles initially, then more joining. The boxing technique. The woman who seemed to know things. The complete disappearance whenever police showed up. Carl had been dealing with it for a week and looked exhausted. "They don't let you sleep," he said. "Even when they're not there, you're looking for them. Checking mirrors, jumping at every set of headlights. They get in your head even when they're not on the road." Linda had a theory. She pulled out a map and started marking where each of us had been followed. "Look at this," she said. "It's all centered around a 50-mile radius. Grand Island to Kearney, north to Broken Bow, south to Hastings. They're operating from somewhere in this area." Marcus studied the map. "Makes sense. Rural enough to hide, but close enough to major highways. Probably using farms or abandoned buildings as bases." We spent hours discussing possibilities, sharing information, trying to make sense of it. But without more data, we were just guessing. Around midnight, Linda's phone rang. It was her dispatcher, frantic. Another driver from her company, Tony Calabrese, had just called in. He was being followed by 3 vehicles on Highway 2 near Broken Bow. But this time, something different was happening. They weren't just following. They were trying to communicate. The woman in the sedan beside him was holding up signs. First one said, "Pull over." The second said, "We need to talk." The third said his wife's name. Linda went pale. Tony's wife died 3 years ago. Cancer. He never talks about it. How could they know her name? We all exchanged looks. This was escalating. They weren't just following and intimidating anymore. They were making it personal, psychological warfare. Carl suggested we convoy together for safety, multiple trucks traveling as a group. But Marcus pointed out the logistical problems. We all had different destinations, different schedules, different companies. We couldn't stay together long. That's when Deputy Orville Dunn walked into the diner. I recognized him immediately, the same tired eyes and stubbled face from the night before. He saw me and came over. "Mr. Haskins, thought I might find you here. We need to talk." He sat down and ordered coffee, then looked at all of us. "What I'm about to tell you doesn't leave this table. We found something. State Police and FBI raid on a farm near Cairo this afternoon, based on a tip. Found a room full of surveillance equipment, computers, radio scanners, GPS trackers, and photos. Hundreds of photos of trucks and drivers. They were tracking us?" Marcus asked. Deputy Dunn nodded. "For months, apparently. Building profiles, learning routes, identifying targets. But here's the weird part. The farm was abandoned, equipment still running, but nobody there. Like they knew we were coming and cleared out. Left everything behind." He pulled out his phone, showed us photos from the raid. The walls were covered with maps, routes highlighted, times noted. It looked like a military operation planning room. "There's more," Deputy Dunn continued. "We found notebooks, detailed observations about specific drivers, habits, stops, personal information, things that shouldn't be possible to know just from surveillance." He looked directly at me. "You're in there, Mr. Haskins. Pages of notes, your ex-wife's name, your daughter, your usual stops, even what you typically order for breakfast." My blood ran cold. This wasn't just stalking. This was something far more invasive. Carl asked the question we were all thinking. "Why? What's the point of all this?" Deputy Dunn was quiet for a moment, then said, "We found one more thing. A list. 23 names, all truckers. 7 are already dead or missing. The rest," he gestured at us, "4 of you are here. The others are being contacted and warned. But we don't know what the list means. Targets? Victims? Or something else?" Linda pulled out her laptop, started cross-referencing the names Deputy Dunn provided. Within minutes, she found a connection. "Look at this. Every driver on that list has been involved in reporting or witnessing a crime in the last 5 years. Tony Calabrese testified in a hijacking case. Marcus witnessed a fatal accident and testified. Carl reported a human trafficking suspicious vehicle. Levi," she looked at me. "You found those bodies at that rest stop in Wyoming 3 years ago." I remembered that night. 2 bodies dumped in a ravine behind a rest area. I'd stopped to check my tires and smelled something awful. Called it in. Turned out to be a double homicide, drug-related. I'd testified at the trial. The killer got life in prison. But his family had made threats, said I'd ruined their lives by getting involved. I'd forgotten about it until now. "So, this is revenge?" Marcus asked. "Someone targeting drivers who reported crimes?" Deputy Dunn shook his head. "We thought that too, but the crimes are all different. Different states, different types, different perpetrators. No connection except that truckers were witnesses. It's more like someone is targeting people who get involved, who don't just drive by, people who stop and help or report things." That's when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Text message. I opened it and my hands started shaking. It was a photo of my daughter's apartment building in Denver. Current photo. I could see her car in the parking lot, the one she'd just bought last month. The message said, "Stop cooperating with police or she's next." I showed it to Deputy Dunn, who immediately got on his radio, calling for Denver PD to send units to my daughter's address. The others started checking their phones. Linda had a similar message, a photo of her son's school. Marcus had one showing his elderly mother's house. Carl's has showed his brother's trucking company office. All with the same threat. Stop cooperating or family members would be targeted. This wasn't random stalking or harassment. This was coordinated intimidation on a massive scale. Deputy Dunn stood up. I need all your phones. FBI needs to trace these." But even as he collected them, we all knew it was probably pointless. Burner phones, untraceable. These people, whoever they were, had been planning this for a long time. They knew exactly how to push our buttons, how to make us vulnerable. And they were escalating quickly. A commotion outside caught our attention. Through the diner windows, we could see multiple vehicles pulling into the truck stop. Not police cars, regular vehicles, sedans, pickups, SUVs. A dozen of them, maybe more. They weren't surrounding any particular truck. They were just parking, sitting, engines running, waiting. Every driver in the diner stood up, looking out. The vehicles were positioned to block most of the exits. Not completely, that would be illegal detention, but enough to make leaving difficult. Deputy Dunn was on his radio immediately, calling for backup. But we all knew it would take time for units to arrive. Rural Nebraska. Middle of the night. Limited resources. And these people knew it too. They'd timed this perfectly. Within minutes, more vehicles arrived. Now there were at least 20. All with Nebraska plates, all just sitting there. Legal. Technically doing nothing wrong. But the message was clear. They knew where we were. They could reach us. And they had numbers. Then, something unexpected happened. Other truckers in the stop started noticing what was going on. Word spread quickly through the CB channels. Within half an hour, trucks started arriving from all directions. Not targeted drivers, just regular truckers who'd heard about the situation. They started parking strategically, blocking in the suspicious vehicles, creating their own counter-siege. One old-timer got on the CB and said, "Nobody messes with drivers on my watch. We protect our own." It became a standoff. Dozens of mysterious vehicles surrounded by even more trucks. The police arrived, but what could they do? Nobody was breaking any laws. Just a very crowded truck stop. The mysterious vehicles couldn't leave without the trucks moving. The trucks wouldn't move until the vehicles left. It was almost comic if it wasn't so tense. Finally, around 3 a.m., the vehicles began leaving. One by one, slowly, they pulled out and disappeared into the night. The truckers stayed until dawn, making sure they were really gone. But I knew this wasn't over. The photo of my daughter's apartment haunted me. These people knew too much, had too many resources, were too organized. This wasn't some random group of criminals. This was something bigger, something with planning and funding and intelligence. And they'd specifically chosen truckers as targets. Why? Because we're isolated? Because we're vulnerable on the road? Or because we see things, know things, transport things that others don't? Deputy Dunn had been making calls all night. As the sun came up, he pulled me aside. "Your daughter is safe. Denver PD has her in protective custody. Same with the other family members. But we need to be smart about this. These people, whoever they are, they're not going to stop. We need to find them before..." He didn't finish, but I knew what he meant. Before someone else ended up like Thomas Brennan, dead in their truck with no explanation. "There's a woman," I said, suddenly, remembering the voice from the night before, the woman in the sedan who'd been mouthing words. The one who was in the car beside me. She knew things, personal things. If we can find her..." Deputy Dunn nodded. "Description?" I gave him every detail I could remember. Dark hair, maybe 35, pale skin. There was something about her eyes, something intense and unsettling. But those details could fit thousands of women. Then Linda spoke up. "I saw her too. Same woman, I think. But I noticed something else. She had a tattoo on her neck. Small, looked like numbers." Marcus confirmed he'd seen it too. "Like a date," he said. "Or coordinates." Deputy Dunn wrote it all down. It wasn't much, but it was something. A identifying mark, something to look for on surveillance cameras and databases. The FBI arrived that morning. 3 agents in dark suits, looking serious and efficient. They interviewed each of us separately, going over every detail multiple times. They had us look at photos, trying to identify any of the people we'd seen. Most were useless. But then I saw her. Not a current photo, but an old one. Maybe 10 years old. The woman from the sedan, but younger. Her name was Nora Caldwell, former Army intelligence. Discharged in 2014 for unspecified reasons. "You're sure this is her?" the lead agent, Special Agent Brooks, asked. I was certain. Same face structure, same intense eyes. "Who is she?" I asked. Brooks hesitated, then said, "Someone we've been looking for. She was involved in a private military contractor scandal in Afghanistan. Interrogation techniques that crossed lines. When she was discharged, she disappeared. We suspected she was doing private intelligence work, corporate espionage maybe, but this, targeting truckers, this doesn't fit her profile. Unless someone hired her," Linda suggested. "Someone with a grudge against truckers, or against these specific truckers." Brooks nodded. "That's what we're thinking. This isn't random. Someone paid for this operation. The surveillance equipment alone would cost hundreds of thousands. The personnel, the vehicles, the coordination. This is a funded operation." Carl, who'd been quiet most of the morning, suddenly spoke up. "What about the trucking companies? Someone trying to hurt the industry? Create fear? Make drivers quit?" It was an interesting theory. There had been issues with autonomous trucks, companies wanting to eliminate human drivers. Could this be some extreme form of corporate warfare? Brooks said they'd look into it, but he didn't seem convinced. The questions continued for hours. What loads were we carrying? Had we noticed anything unusual in the weeks before the stalking started? Had we been approached by anyone offering different jobs, asking about our routes, showing unusual interest in our work? Most of the answers were no. We were just regular drivers doing regular runs. Nothing special about any of us except that we'd all witnessed or reported crimes at some point. That afternoon, something broke in the case. The farm where they'd found the surveillance equipment, the owner had been identified. It was a shell company, but they'd traced it back. The ultimate owner was a logistics corporation based in Chicago, a company that specialized in supply chain management and transportation consulting. The CEO was a man named Richard Brennan, the same last name as Thomas Brennan, the driver who died. But Thomas didn't have any relatives named Richard that anyone knew of. More digging revealed the truth. Richard Brennan wasn't related to Thomas, but he was connected to one of the crimes we'd all witnessed or reported. 5 years ago, his son had been arrested for drug trafficking after Carl Peterson reported suspicious activity at a way station. The son got 20 years in federal prison. Richard Brennan's company had lost contracts, reputation destroyed by association. He'd blamed the trucker who'd reported it, blamed all truckers who interfered in things that weren't their business. "So this is all revenge?" I asked Brooks. "One man's vendetta against truckers who report crimes?" Brooks shook his head. "It's bigger than that. Brennan had partners, former military, former intelligence, people with skills and grudges. They've created a network. And we think the stalking is just phase 1, testing responses, learning patterns. The real operation hasn't started yet." "What's the real operation?" Linda asked. Brooks was quiet for a moment, then said, "We found plans on one of the computers, coordinated attacks on trucking infrastructure. Not physical attacks, psychological. Make drivers too afraid to work, disrupt supply chains, create shortages, profit from the chaos." It sounded like a bad movie plot, but the evidence was there. Maps of crucial trucking routes, timetables for maximum disruption, financial documents showing short positions on trucking companies' stocks. The FBI moved us to a safe house that afternoon, an old motel on the outskirts of Grand Island that they'd commandeered. 4 targeted truckers under federal protection, our rigs parked in a secured lot nearby. It felt surreal, like something out of a movie, but the armed agents at every entrance reminded us this was very real. Richard Brennan was still at large, and his network was bigger than anyone had initially thought. Brooks showed us surveillance photos from Chicago, Denver, Kansas City, former military contractors, discharged intelligence officers, even a few corrupt cops, all connected to Brennan's operation. My phone rang constantly. Other drivers checking in, wanting to know what was happening. The trucking community is tight-knit, and word had spread fast. Every driver in the Midwest was on edge, watching their mirrors, suspicious of every vehicle that followed too long. Janet called to tell me that 3 major trucking companies had already implemented new security protocols. Check-in requirements every 2 hours, panic buttons in all cabs, GPS tracking with alerts for any unplanned stops. The entire industry was adapting to this threat, but we all knew it was just a bandage on a massive wound. That evening, Brooks gathered us in the motel's conference room. He had new information, and his expression told us it wasn't good. We've identified 17 members of Brennan's network so far, but our interrogation of the suspects we arrested at the farm revealed something worse. They were recruiting, actively seeking people with grievances against the trucking industry. Drivers who'd been fired, mechanics who'd been laid off, anyone with inside knowledge and a grudge. He put up a photo on the board. A young man, mid-20s, angry eyes. This is David Marsh, former driver for Conway Freight. Lost his job after failing a drug test. He's been feeding them information about driver routes and habits for 6 months. Linda cursed under her breath. I know him. He used to run the same routes I do. Knows all my regular stops, my preferred rest areas, everything. Brooks nodded grimly. That's how they knew so much. Inside information from people you trusted. People who knew the industry. We've identified 4 other inside sources so far, but there are probably more. Anyone who seemed unusually interested in your schedules lately, anyone asking questions about your routes, they could be involved. Marcus stood up, pacing. So we can't trust anyone? Every driver we meet could be working for them? Brooks didn't answer directly, but his silence was confirmation enough. The paranoia that had been building for days suddenly felt completely justified. If they had people inside the trucking companies, inside the truck stops, maybe even inside law enforcement, then nowhere was truly safe. Every conversation could be monitored, every movement tracked. Carl asked the question we were all thinking. What about our loads? You said they found Thomas Brennan dead in his truck with the cargo intact, but what if that wasn't the real goal? What if they were looking for specific shipments? Brooks pulled up another file on his laptop. We're investigating that angle. 3 of the missing drivers were carrying pharmaceutical shipments. High value, easily resold. Another was hauling electronics. The 5th, he paused. The 5th was carrying weapons. Legal shipment to a military base, but still. They're using the stalking as cover, I said, understanding dawning. Make it look like random harassment while they're actually selecting specific targets for hijacking. Brooks nodded. That's our working theory. The psychological warfare serves 2 purposes. It identifies drivers who won't fight back, and it provides cover for their real operation. Everyone's focused on the stalking, not the cargo. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. This time, it wasn't a threat. It was an offer. $50,000 to deliver your next load to a different location. No questions, no consequences, just a simple detour. I showed it to Brooks immediately. He grabbed the phone, already calling his tech team to trace it. But we all knew they'd use burner phones, VPNs, untraceable methods. Still, the offer was interesting. They were trying to turn us, make us complicit. Within minutes, the others received similar texts. Different amounts. Linda was offered $70,000, Marcus $60,000, Carl $45,000. They knew our financial situations, knew who was struggling with bills, who had kids in college, who was close to retirement without enough savings. The amounts were calculated to be tempting but not suspicious, just enough to solve our immediate problems. This changes things, Brooks said. They're not just trying to scare drivers anymore. They're trying to corrupt them, turn the industry against itself. He made several calls, his voice urgent. When he hung up, his face was grim. 3 drivers have already taken deals like this, delivered loads to wrong locations in the last week. The cargo disappeared, insurance claims filed, nobody suspected anything because the drivers had clean records. The door opened, and Deputy Dunn walked in, looking exhausted. He'd been up for probably 48 hours straight, coordinating with state police. "We found something," he announced. "Abandoned warehouse outside Broken Bow, full of stolen cargo, pharmaceuticals, electronics, even some hazmat materials. But here's the interesting part. It was all from trucks that reported being followed. Every single shipment came from a driver who'd been stalked first." "So they mark their targets," Linda said. "Stalk them to see who breaks, who might take a bribe, who's easiest to rob." Deputy Dunn nodded. "But there's more. We found bodies." The room went silent. 3 men, all shot execution style. "We've identified them. They were drivers who initially took bribes, but then tried to back out or report it. Brennan's network doesn't tolerate loose ends." I felt sick. This wasn't just about revenge or profit anymore. This was organized crime at its worst, using murder to maintain silence. Brooks stood up, his expression deadly serious. "We're moving you tonight, all of you. New location, heightened security, and we're going to use you as bait." We all stared at him. "Excuse me," Marcus said. "You want to use us as bait?" "Controlled operation," Brooks explained. "You'll take assigned loads on specific routes. We'll have undercover agents in vehicles ahead and behind. Air surveillance, the works. When they make their move, we'll be ready. It's the only way to catch them all at once. Otherwise, they'll just keep recruiting, keep operating, keep killing." It was insane, but it was also logical. We were already targets. At least this way we'd have protection and a chance to end it. After a long discussion, we all agreed. Better to be bait with backup than prey alone on the road. Brooks laid out the plan. 4 trucks, 4 routes, all converging on Denver. High-value loads that would be irresistible to Brennan's network. Medical supplies, electronics, industrial chemicals, and 1 classified military shipment that required special clearance. That night, I couldn't sleep, not because I was scared. Well, not just because I was scared, but because something didn't add up. Richard Brennan's son was in federal prison because Carl reported drug trafficking. But the level of resources being deployed, the military precision, the intelligence gathering capabilities, this was beyond what one bitter businessman could arrange. There had to be more to it. Someone else involved, someone with real power. I found Linda in the motel's parking lot at 3 a.m., smoking a cigarette even though she'd quit years ago. "Can't sleep either?" she asked. I shook my head. "Something's wrong about all this," I told her. Brennan couldn't do this alone. He'd need help. Serious help. She nodded, exhaling smoke into the cold night air. "I've been thinking the same thing. The surveillance equipment at that farm, it was military grade. You can't just buy that stuff. Someone with clearance had to provide it. We stood in silence for a moment, then Linda said, "What if Brennan isn't the real boss? What if he's just a front, someone to take the fall while the real operation continues?" It made sense. Use a man with a grudge as cover. Let him think he's running things but keep the real power hidden. "We need to tell Brooks," I said. Linda shook her head. "Tell him what? That we have a feeling? He needs evidence, not paranoia." The next morning, we prepared for the operation. Our trucks were loaded with the bait cargo, each vehicle fitted with hidden cameras and tracking devices. FBI agents would be driving unmarked vehicles as escort, maintaining visual contact at all times. Air support was on standby. It was as safe as a dangerous operation could be. But as I did my pre-trip inspection, I noticed something. A small device attached to my brake line. Not obvious unless you were really looking, but definitely not standard equipment. I called Brooks over immediately. He examined it carefully, then called his bomb squad. Within minutes, my truck was surrounded by agents in protective gear. The device wasn't a bomb. It was worse. It was designed to fail my brakes at a specific speed, probably controlled remotely. They'd planned to cause an accident, make it look like equipment failure. Brooks was furious. How did they get to the truck? It's been under guard all night. The answer came quickly and was devastating. One of the FBI agents assigned to guard duty was missing. Agent Martinez, 6-year veteran, clean record, no red flags. His car was found at a rest stop 10 miles away. Empty, his service weapon and badge gone. Either he'd been compromised or he'd been dirty from the start. Either way, Brennan's network had infiltrated federal law enforcement. The operation was compromised before it even started. Brooks wanted to abort, but I had an idea. Let them think we don't know. Fix the brake line, but make it look like we haven't found it. Then when they try to activate it, we'll know they're watching, and we can trace the signal. It was risky, but Brooks agreed. His tech team installed a bypass that would prevent the brakes from failing while allowing the device to send its activation signal. We'd turn their trap into our trap. We rolled out that afternoon, 4 trucks in different directions, all eventually converging on Denver. I took I-80 west through Nebraska, the route where everything had started. Linda went south through Kansas, Marcus north through South Dakota, Carl southeast through Missouri. Each of us had at least 3 FBI vehicles as escort, though they stayed far enough back to not be obvious. The plan was simple. Drive normally, wait for Brennan's network to make their move, then let the FBI close the trap. For the first 2 hours, nothing happened. Normal traffic, normal weather, normal road conditions. I started to think maybe they'd been spooked. Maybe finding the brake device had tipped them off. But then, near Kearney, I saw them. The 3 original vehicles, 2 sedans and a pickup, taking their positions. Front, back, EA. The same formation as before. But this time, I wasn't alone. This time, I had backup. "Contact," I said into the radio. 3 vehicles in position. Brooks's voice came back immediately. "We see them. Air support confirms 7 more vehicles converging on your location. This is bigger than expected. Maintain speed and course. 7 more vehicles, 10 total. They were throwing everything at us. I kept my hand steady on the wheel, maintained my speed at a consistent 65, and waited. The woman appeared in the sedan beside me again, Nora Caldwell. She wasn't hiding anymore, windows down despite the cold, staring directly at me. But this time, she wasn't mouthing words. She was holding up a tablet, showing me something. Photos. My daughter. Not at her apartment, but at her job, at the grocery store, at the gym. Recent photos, all taken in the last few days despite her being in protective custody. The message was clear. They could still reach her. I forced myself not to react, not to give them the satisfaction of seeing my fear. But inside, my heart was racing. How did they get these photos? How did they know where the FBI had moved her? Brooks was saying something in my earpiece, but I couldn't focus on it. All I could see were those photos of Sarah, unaware she was being watched, vulnerable despite all the protection. Then the brake device activated. I felt the slight vibration as it tried to engage, but the bypass held. My brakes were fine, but someone thought they'd just signed my death warrant. "Device activated," I reported. "They think my brakes are gone." Brooks responded quickly. "Signal traced. Source is a vehicle 1 mile behind you. White van, Nebraska plates. We're moving in." But Nora must have sensed something was wrong because suddenly all 10 vehicles accelerated, surrounding my truck completely. They were trying to force me off the road, probably toward a predetermined location where they could handle the crash scene without interference. The pickup in front slammed on its brakes, trying to make me rear-end it. I managed to swerve, but that put me partially on the shoulder. The sedans closed in from both sides, inches from my truck. "All units move in now," Brooks commanded. Suddenly, the highway erupted in sirens and lights. FBI vehicles appeared from everywhere, hidden on on-ramps, disguised as civilian cars, even a helicopter dropping low over the highway. The trap was sprung, but Brennan's network didn't run. Instead, they accelerated their attack. 2 more vehicles rammed my trailer from behind, trying to jackknife me. Another sideswiped my cab, metal grinding against metal. I fought to maintain control. 80,000 pounds of truck and cargo skating across lanes. Cars were scattering, pulling off the road to avoid the chaos. The pickup in front of me suddenly exploded. Not a bomb, but the engine blowing, probably sabotaged as a last resort. I yanked the wheel hard right, barely avoiding the flaming wreckage. The truck tilted dangerously, and for a moment I thought I was going over, but the weight of the cargo brought me back down, tires smoking as they grabbed asphalt. Nora's sedan had pulled alongside again, and I could see her clearly. She was smiling, not the smile of someone winning, but the smile of someone who didn't care about losing as long as they took you with them. She yanked her wheel hard into my truck, a suicide move that would crush her car. But before impact, an FBI vehicle rammed her from behind, sending her spinning off into the median. The other vehicles were being systematically taken down by FBI units. Spike strips, pit maneuvers, even warning shots at tires. Within minutes, the highway looked like a war zone. Vehicles scattered across lanes, smoke rising from damaged engines, agents with weapons drawn surrounding suspects. I managed to bring my truck to a stop on the shoulder, hands shaking so badly I could barely set the parking brake. Brooks was at my door within seconds. "You okay?" I nodded, not trusting my voice. He helped me down from the cab, and I saw the full scope of the takedown. 15 suspects in custody, including Nora Caldwell. She was being loaded into an ambulance, injured but alive, still smiling that unsettling smile. As they passed, she looked at me and mouthed something. "This isn't over?" The other drivers had similar stories. Linda had been attacked by 6 vehicles near Salina. Marcus faced 8 vehicles in South Dakota. Carl had the worst of it. 12 vehicles, including 2 semis trying to ram him off a bridge. But the FBI had been ready for all of it. In total, they arrested 43 members of Brennan's network in coordinated takedowns across 4 states. It was one of the largest organized crime busts in FBI history. But Richard Brennan himself was nowhere to be found. His Chicago office was empty, his home abandoned. Bank accounts cleaned out, digital footprints erased. He'd known the takedown was coming and vanished, probably warned by the missing Agent Martinez. Brooks was frustrated but philosophical. We got most of them. Brennan can't operate without his network. He's done. I wasn't so sure. Men like Brennan, driven by revenge and hatred, don't just give up. They regroup, recruit, and try again. But for now, at least, the immediate threat was over. The four of us could go back to driving, back to our lives. Except we all knew it would never be the same. Every time we saw vehicles maintaining pace, every time someone followed too long, we'd wonder. We'd check our mirrors more, trust less, always be watching. The debriefing took 3 days. FBI, DOT, state police, even Homeland Security wanted every detail. The scope of what Brennan had planned was staggering. Not just theft and murder, but economic terrorism. Disrupting supply chains during peak seasons, creating artificial shortages, manipulating markets. The documents recovered from his various locations showed plans extending years into the future. A complete dismantling of the trucking industry's reliability. During a break in the questioning, Agent Brooks pulled me aside. "There's something you should know. Nora Caldwell is talking, trading information for a reduced sentence. She says Brennan isn't finished. He has a backup plan, something called Phase 3. We don't know what it is yet, but she says it's already in motion." My blood ran cold. What does that mean? Brooks shrugged. Could be bluster. Could be real. Either way, we're taking it seriously. You and the others will have federal protection for the foreseeable future. That night, in my motel room, I got a call from Sarah, my daughter. She was okay, scared but safe. The FBI had moved her twice more after those photos surfaced, and she was now in a location so secure even I didn't know where it was. "Dad, when will this be over?" she asked. I didn't have a good answer. "Soon, honey. They caught most of them. It's almost done." But even as I said it, I wondered if it would ever really be done. Linda knocked on my door around midnight. She had her laptop and a concerned expression. "I've been digging into Richard Brennan. Something Brooks said bothered me. How did Brennan afford all this? His company was successful, but not 43-person private army successful." She showed me financial records she'd somehow accessed. "Look at this. 6 months before the stalking started, Brennan received a series of payments. $50 million total, all from offshore accounts. Someone funded him," I said, understanding immediately. Someone wanted this to happen and used Brennan as the front man. Linda nodded. "But who? And why?" We spent hours going through possibilities. Competing logistics companies, foreign actors wanting to disrupt American infrastructure, criminal organizations looking to control trucking routes. But nothing quite fit. This was personal for Brennan, but for whoever funded him, it was business. The next morning, I shared our findings with Brooks. He wasn't surprised. "We've been investigating the same angle. The money trail leads to a shell company in the Caymans, then to another in Switzerland, then it disappears. Professional money laundering. But we did find one interesting connection." He pulled up a file on his tablet. 6 of the arrested suspects have previous connections to a private military company called Savage Solutions. Heard of them? I hadn't, but Linda had. They were in the news a few years ago. A scandal in Iraq. Accused of smuggling weapons, murdering civilians. Got their contract pulled. Brooks nodded. The company dissolved, but the personnel scattered. Many ended up in private security, corporate intelligence, or, he paused meaningfully, organized crime. We think someone at Savage Solutions saw an opportunity in Brennan's revenge plan and decided to fund it. "But why target truckers?" Carl asked. He'd been quiet through most of the briefings, but this had caught his attention. Brooks pulled up another file. Trucking is America's circulatory system. Everything moves by truck at some point. Control trucking, and you control the economy. Imagine if a criminal organization could guarantee that certain shipments would be delayed, destroyed, or diverted. They could manipulate stock prices, create shortages, extort companies. It's worth billions if done right. The full picture was becoming clear. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about creating a criminal infrastructure within the trucking industry. Use fear to drive out honest drivers, replace them with corrupted ones, and eventually control the entire supply chain. It was ambitious, ruthless, and terrifyingly possible. If we hadn't stopped it when we did, if Brennan had been given another year to operate, it might have succeeded. But something still bothered me. The missing Agent Martinez. He hadn't been found, dead or alive. His accounts hadn't been touched, his credit cards unused. It was like he'd simply vanished. What if Martinez wasn't corrupted? I said suddenly. What if he was eliminated because he found something? Brooks looked interested. Like what? I thought about it. Like the real identity of whoever's funding this. Martinez was on guard duty. Maybe he saw something, recognized someone. Brooks made a call, then another. When he hung up, his expression was grim. Martinez was investigating something on his own time. His partner says he was obsessed with finding connections between Savage Solutions and current federal contracts. He thought someone inside the government was still working with them. The implications were staggering. If someone in the government was involved, they could have provided intel, protection, even official cover for Brennan's operation. That afternoon, Nora Caldwell asked to speak with me specifically. Against Brooks' advice, I agreed. She was in federal custody, shackled and surrounded by guards, but still somehow intimidating. "Mr. Haskins," she said, her voice calm and cultured. "You're smarter than the others. You know this isn't over." I stayed silent, waiting. She smiled. Richard Brennan was a useful fool, angry, motivated, but ultimately disposable. The real operation continues with or without him. "What operation?" I asked. She leaned forward as much as her shackles allowed. "The reconstruction of American logistics under new management." Brennan thought it was about revenge. The FBI thinks it's about crime. But it's about revolution. Changing who controls what, moves where. I wanted to dismiss her as a fanatic, but something in her eyes told me she believed every word. "Who's behind it?" I asked. She laughed. "If I told you, you wouldn't believe me. But watch the news in the coming months. Watch for accidents, shortages, delays, all seemingly random, all actually coordinated." 2 weeks after the arrests, I was back on the road. The FBI had cleared me to return to work, though with conditions. Check in every 4 hours, vary my routes, report anything suspicious immediately. Sarah was still in protective custody, but we could talk daily now. Life was returning to something resembling normal, except for the constant awareness that Richard Brennan was still out there. And according to Nora Caldwell, something bigger was still in motion. I was hauling paper products from a mill in Wisconsin to a distribution center in Omaha. Simple load, familiar route, nothing valuable enough to attract attention. The new security protocols made everything take longer. Electronic logging devices monitored constantly. Panic buttons tested before each trip. GPS tracked in real time by both my company and the FBI. It felt like driving in a cage, but after what we'd been through, nobody was complaining about extra security. The first sign something was wrong came at a way station near Des Moines. The DOT officer, a guy I'd seen dozens of times over the years, was acting strange, nervous. Kept glancing at his phone while inspecting my paperwork. When he handed my documents back, he leaned in close and whispered, "Be careful out there, Haskins. Word is something big is coming down." Before I could ask what he meant, he'd waved me through, already turning to the next truck. I called Brooks immediately. He was still leading the task force, even though most of Brennan's network was in custody. "Could be nothing," he said, but I could hear the concern in his voice. "But I'll check our intelligence. Keep your eyes open." An hour later, he called back. 3 truckers have reported being approached in the last 48 hours. Someone offering big money to transport unmarked containers. No questions asked. All 3 turned it down and reported it, but there might be others who didn't. The pattern was starting again, but different this time. Instead of stalking and intimidation, they were going straight to bribery, trying to build a new network from drivers willing to look the other way for cash. It made sense. With their surveillance operation dismantled, they needed inside help more than ever. But what were they trying to move? Drugs? Weapons? Something worse? Near Council Bluffs, I stopped for fuel at a Flying J. The place was packed, unusual for a Tuesday afternoon. I recognized several drivers, all looking tense, talking in small groups. Linda was there, had just come up from Kansas. "You hear about Marcus?" she asked. I shook my head. Someone tried to hijack his load last night. 3 guys with guns. He managed to lock himself in the cab and call for help, but they got away before cops arrived. More drivers joined our conversation. Everyone had stories. Attempted bribes. Strange vehicles following for a few miles then disappearing. Threatening phone calls. It was like Brennan's network had been a tumor, and removing it had just spread cancer cells throughout the system. Smaller operations, less organized, but more numerous and harder to track. The FBI had created a power vacuum, and every small-time criminal with ambition was trying to fill it. But there was something else. Several drivers mentioned seeing Agent Martinez, the missing FBI agent who'd vanished the night before the big takedown. Different locations, different times, but the descriptions matched. Dark suit, distinctive scar on his left cheek, always watching from a distance. Never approaching, never identifying himself, just observing. If Martinez was alive and free, why hadn't he contacted the FBI? Unless he couldn't, or wouldn't. I decided to take a detour through Omaha, adding an hour to my trip but avoiding the isolated stretches of highway where I'd been stalked before. The city traffic was heavy, stop and go. Frustrating, but safe. That's when I saw him. Agent Martinez standing at a bus stop, watching traffic. Our eyes met for a brief moment and I saw recognition flash across his face. Then he turned and walked quickly away, disappearing into a crowd. I pulled over as soon as I could and called Brooks. "Martinez is in Omaha. I just saw him. Corner of Dodge and 42nd. Brooks was silent for a moment. "That's impossible. Martinez is dead. We found his body 4 days ago in a warehouse in Chicago, shot execution style." My blood went cold. Then, who did I just see? Brooks didn't answer immediately. When he did, his voice was careful. "Describe exactly what you saw." I did. Every detail I could remember. The suit, the scar, the way he walked with a slight limp from an old injury. Brooks cursed. "That's Martinez, or someone who looks exactly like him. I'm sending units to that location now. And Levi, be very careful. If someone's impersonating a dead federal agent, we're dealing with something more sophisticated than we thought." The units found nothing. No trace of Martinez or whoever was pretending to be him. But they did find something else. A van parked nearby, registered to a company that didn't exist. Inside were surveillance photos. Of me, of Linda, of Marcus and Carl, all taken in the last week. Someone was still watching us, still tracking our movements. But who and why? That night, I stayed at a motel in Omaha instead of completing my run. Called dispatch, told them I was sick. They weren't happy, but after everything that had happened, they didn't push. I needed time to think, to process what was happening. Brennan was gone, his network dismantled, but the threat continued, like cutting off a snake's head only to find the body was still moving, still dangerous. Around midnight, someone knocked on my door. I grabbed the tire iron I kept beside the bed, looked through the peephole. It was Martinez, or whoever was wearing his face. He was alone, hands visible, looking directly at the peephole. "Mr. Haskins, I know you're in there. We need to talk. I'm going to slide something under the door. Please read it." An envelope appeared under the door. Inside was a single sheet of paper and a photograph. The photo showed Martinez, the real Martinez, dead, obviously taken at a crime scene. The paper had one paragraph. "I'm Martinez's partner, deep undercover. Can't break cover yet." Brennan was just the tip. "Meet me at the Petro truck stop, back lot, 3 a.m. Come alone. Trust no one, including Brooks." It could be a trap. Probably was a trap. But it could also be the key to understanding what was really happening. I waited until 2:45, then drove to the Petro station. Parked where I could see the back lot but also make a quick escape if needed. At exactly 3 a.m., a figure emerged from the shadows. Martinez's face, but younger somehow, moved differently. This wasn't Martinez. He approached slowly, hands visible. When he got close enough, I could see the details. The scar was makeup. The face was similar but not identical. Good enough to fool someone at a distance, but not up close. "My name is Agent David Kim," he said. "Internal Affairs. I've been impersonating Martinez since his death to maintain his cover. He was close to something big when they killed him." "Why should I believe you?" I asked, keeping the doors locked, engine running. He pulled out a badge, held it up to the window. It looked real, but badges could be faked. Then he said something that made me believe him. Martinez found out that someone in the Justice Department was funding Brennan. Someone very high up. That's why he was killed. That's why I can't break cover. We don't know how deep this goes. "Who?" I asked, though I was afraid of the answer. Kim shook his head. "Still investigating. But whoever it is, they're planning something bigger than Brennan ever imagined." The trucking attacks were just phase 1. Phase 2 was supposed to be the chaos after the arrests, criminals fighting for territory. Phase 3, he paused. Phase 3 involves replacing the entire logistics infrastructure. Government contracts, military supply lines, everything. "That's impossible," I said. "You can't just replace an entire industry." Kim pulled out a folder, held it up so I could see the contents through the window. Contracts, government seals, official letterhead. They're not replacing it, they're privatizing it. Emergency authorization, citing the recent attacks as proof that the current system is vulnerable. One company gets all government logistics contracts. Guess who owns that company through about 15 shell corporations? I didn't need to guess. The same people who funded Brennan, who owned Savage Solutions, who had connections throughout the government. This was all planned, I said, understanding finally hitting. Brennan's revenge plot was just cover. Create a crisis, then offer the solution. Kim nodded. Classic problem-reaction solution. And it's working. The vote is next week. Unless we can prove the connection, they'll get everything they want. "What do you need from me?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. Kim looked tired, older than his years. "Evidence. Martinez hid something before he died. Said he gave it to someone he trusted. Someone outside the system. Did he contact you? Give you anything? I shook my head, but then remembered something. The DOT officer at the way station. His warning, his nervousness. There's a DOT officer in Des Moines. He was acting strange, warned me something big was coming. Maybe Martinez contacted him? Kim wrote down the information. I'll check it out. In the meantime, be very careful. They know the FBI is protecting you, but they have people inside. Brooks is clean, but his team might not be. Trust no one completely. He started to leave, then turned back. Mr. Haskins, what you and the others did, standing up to them, it saved lives. But the war isn't over. It's just beginning. After he left, I sat in my truck for an hour, trying to process everything. If Kim was telling the truth, we'd stumbled into something massive. A conspiracy to control American logistics, starting with a manufactured crisis. Brennan had been a patsy. His genuine revenge motive used to hide a larger agenda, and now, with him gone and his network dismantled, the real players were moving forward with their plan. I called Linda, woke her up, told her everything. She was silent for a long moment, then said, "We need to meet, all four of us, compare notes. If Martinez contacted one of us, we need to know." We arranged to meet the next day in Des Moines, at a truck stop we all knew. Public place, lots of witnesses, as safe as anywhere could be. The next morning, I completed my delivery in Omaha, then deadheaded to Des Moines. The others were already there when I arrived. Carl looked exhausted, had been driving nights to avoid daytime traffic where he felt exposed. Marcus was jumpy, kept checking his mirrors even while we sat in the diner. Linda had her laptop out, researching the company Kim had mentioned. Secure Logistics Solutions. Brand new, but with an impressive board of directors, former generals, intelligence officials, even a senator. "Look at this," Linda said, turning her screen toward us. "They've already got preliminary contracts worth $2 billion, all contingent on the emergency authorization. If that vote passes, they become the exclusive provider for all government shipping." Carl whistled low. "That's every military base, every federal building, every disaster relief shipment. They'd control it all." Marcus had been quiet, but suddenly spoke up. "I got a package yesterday. No return address. Almost threw it away, thought it might be a bomb or something, but it was just a flash drive and a note." He pulled out a piece of paper. "It says Martinez trusted you. Don't let his death be in vain. The flash drive has encrypted files. I couldn't open them." We all stared at the flash drive. This could be the evidence Kim needed, or it could be a trap. Linda grabbed it, plugged it into her laptop with a USB isolator to prevent any malware from spreading. "It's definitely encrypted, military grade. We need someone with serious skills to crack this." I thought of Brooks, but Kim's warning echoed in my mind. Trust no one completely. "I know someone," Carl said unexpectedly. "My nephew. Works for a tech company, used to be military intelligence. He could probably crack it." It was risky, bringing in someone new. But we were running out of options. The vote was in 5 days. If Secure Logistics Solutions got those contracts, they'd have legal authority over vast swathes of American infrastructure. We drove to Carl's nephew's place in Ames. Tommy was young, maybe 28, but had the focused intensity of someone who'd seen too much, too young. When we explained the situation, he didn't seem surprised. "I've been tracking Savage Solutions for years," he said. "They didn't disappear after Iraq. They just rebranded, split into cells. This is exactly the kind of operation they'd run." It took him 3 hours to crack the encryption. When he did, we all gathered around the screen. The files were explosive. Financial records showing payments from a deputy attorney general named Harold Morrison to Brennan's accounts. Communications between Morrison and the CEO of Secure Logistics Solutions. Plans dated 2 years ago, long before Brennan's attacks, outlining the entire operation. Create a crisis in the trucking industry. Use it to justify emergency privatization. Funnel all government logistics through a single company they controlled. But there was more. A list of targets. Not just truckers who'd witnessed crimes, but union leaders, independent owner-operators who'd refused buyout offers, anyone who might oppose the privatization. Over 200 names, some marked as neutralized. We recognized those as drivers who'd died or disappeared. Others marked as pending, including all 4 of us. "We have to get this to someone," Linda said. "The media, the FBI, someone. But who could we trust? If a deputy attorney general was involved, how deep did the corruption go?" Tommy had an idea. Release it everywhere at once. WikiLeaks, major newspapers, social media. Make it impossible to suppress. It was risky. We could be arrested for possessing classified information. But doing nothing meant letting them win. We spent the next day preparing. Tommy created encrypted copies, set up anonymous drop boxes, prepared a massive data dump. Linda wrote a summary explaining the connections in layman's terms. Marcus and Carl reached out to trusted journalists, setting up meetings. I contacted Brooks, carefully, feeling him out. When I mentioned Morrison's name, there was a long pause. "Where did you hear that name?" he asked. I told him we had evidence. Another pause. "Bring it in, immediately. Trust no one else." But something in his voice was off. Too eager, too insistent. I made an excuse, said I'd come in the next morning. Then I called Kim using the number he'd given me. "Brooks might be compromised," I said. When I mentioned Morrison, he reacted strangely. Kim cursed. Morrison must have gotten to him, or threatened him. "Don't go to the FBI. We'll handle this another way." That night, everything went wrong at once. Carl's nephew's apartment was raided by men claiming to be federal agents, but they had no warrant, no proper identification. Tommy managed to escape out a window, but his computers were seized. Marcus was pulled over by state police, held for 3 hours on bogus charges, his truck searched. Linda's motel room was broken into while she was getting dinner, her laptop stolen. They were moving against us, trying to suppress the evidence. But we'd anticipated this. The real flash drive was with me, hidden in a false bottom of my coffee thermos. Tommy had uploaded the files to multiple cloud servers before the raid. Linda had printed hard copies, mailed them to journalists across the country. We'd scattered the evidence like seeds, hoping some would take root before they could stop us all. The next morning, the story broke simultaneously in 12 major newspapers. Conspiracy to privatize American logistics through manufactured crisis. Morrison's photo was on every news channel. Secure Logistics Solutions' stock price crashed. The emergency authorization vote was postponed pending investigation. We'd done it. We'd stopped them. But victory felt hollow. Within hours, Morrison was dead. Apparent suicide, though nobody believed it. Several board members of Secure Logistics Solutions fled the country. The company dissolved, its assets vanishing into offshore accounts. The real puppeteers, whoever they were, had cut their losses and disappeared. Just like with Brennan, we'd caught the front men but missed the architects. Brooks came to see me that evening. He looked broken. "Morrison had my daughter," he said quietly. "Kidnapped her 3 days ago. Said he'd kill her if I didn't help suppress any evidence that surfaced." His daughter had been released that morning, traumatized but alive. "I'm resigning," he said. "I compromised the investigation. Nearly let them win." I wanted to be angry, but I just felt tired. We were all victims in different ways. Agent Kim surfaced publicly 2 days later, testifying before Congress about the conspiracy. The investigation would continue for months, maybe years. Some people would go to prison. New security measures would be implemented. But we all knew it would happen again. Different players, different methods, same goal. Control the flow of goods, control the nation. Richard Brennan was found dead in Mexico 3 weeks later, shot in a motel room, surrounded by maps and photos of truckers, still planning something, even after everything had collapsed. Whether he was killed by his former partners or by law enforcement was never determined. Nora Caldwell got 25 years in federal prison. She smiled when they read the verdict, like she knew something we didn't. The four of us, me, Linda, Marcus, and Carl, we stayed in touch. Formed a kind of informal network, watching for signs of new threats. Other drivers joined us, creating a nationwide early warning system. If someone got followed too long, if someone was offered suspicious cargo, if someone noticed patterns, we'd know. We'd report it. We'd protect each other. I went back to driving full-time 6 months later. Sarah came out of protective custody, went back to her life, though she called me every day now. The highways looked the same, but I saw them differently. Every rest stop could be a surveillance point. Every way station could have compromised officers. Every vehicle following too long could be the start of something new. Late one night, hauling electronics from Denver to Kansas City, I stopped at a rest area in western Kansas. The same rest area where I'd first noticed the sedan following me all those months ago. It was empty except for one other truck. The driver was standing beside his rig, smoking, looking at the stars. He nodded as I walked past. "Quiet night," he said. "Yeah," I agreed, "for now." Because that's the truth about the road. It's never really quiet. There's always something moving in the darkness, always someone watching from the shadows. The conspiracy we'd exposed was just one of many. A single thread in a vast web of corruption and crime that used America's highways as its arteries. We'd won a battle, but the war continued every night, every mile, every load. Tommy, Carl's nephew, started a tech company focused on trucking security, created apps for drivers to report suspicious activity, encrypted communication systems, panic buttons that couldn't be jammed. The industry adapted, evolved, became harder to infiltrate. But the predators evolved too, found new ways to hunt, new vulnerabilities to exploit. Linda wrote a book about our experience. It became a bestseller, sparked congressional hearings, led to new regulations. But she still drove nights, still watched her mirrors, still carried a gun she'd learned to use. Because writing about danger and living with it are two different things, and once you've been hunted, you never really stop looking over your shoulder. Marcus quit driving for a year, tried to work a normal job, couldn't stand it. The road calls to those who've known it, even when it's shown its darkest face. He came back with new safety protocols, multiple dash cameras, a direct line to FBI dispatch. But he also came back with nightmares, jumping at shadows, trust issues that therapy couldn't quite fix. Carl retired officially but kept his CDL current. Became a trainer, teaching new drivers not just how to handle a rig, but how to stay safe, how to recognize surveillance, vary routes, trust their instincts. He turned his trauma into education, his fear into wisdom, passed on to the next generation. But I knew he still checked his mirrors constantly, still felt the phantom presence of vehicles that weren't really there. As for me, I drive. It's what I know, what I'm good at, what defines me even after everything it's cost. The loads are the same: steel, paper, electronics, food. The roads are the same: I-80, I-29, Highway 2, but I'm different, harder, more careful, more aware. I know what lurks out there in the darkness between the truck stops. I know how thin the line is between a normal run and a nightmare. Sometimes, late at night on empty highways, I think about Thomas Brennan, the driver who died in his cab, no cause of death ever determined. They said Nora Caldwell's psychological warfare killed him. That fear alone stopped his heart. But I think it was simpler than that. I think he saw the truth. How vulnerable we all are. How many predators circle us daily. How little control we really have. And that truth was too much to bear. But we bear it anyway. Every driver out there, whether they know about conspiracies or not, bears the weight of keeping America moving. 3 million truckers, driving 11 billion miles a year, carrying everything everyone needs to survive. We're the bloodstream of the nation, and that makes us targets. It makes us valuable. It makes us vulnerable. The FBI still calls occasionally. New threats, new patterns, new conspiracies. I help when I can, but I'm not a hero. I'm just a driver who happened to notice something wrong and was too stubborn to look away. That's all any of us are, really. Witnesses to the darkness that moves along America's highways, hoping our headlights are bright enough to see the danger coming. Last week, I got a letter. No return address, postmarked from Chicago. Inside was a single line. Phase 4 begins soon, RB. Richard Brennan's initials, but he's dead. Unless he's not. Unless that body in Mexico was someone else. Unless the conspiracy goes even deeper than we thought. I gave the letter to the FBI, but I already know what they'll say. No evidence. No actionable intelligence. Just another ghost story from the road. But I'll keep driving, keep watching, keep reporting. Because that's what we do. We move forward, even when we know something's following us. We deliver the load, even when we're afraid. We face the darkness, mile after mile, night after night. Not because we're brave, but because someone has to. Because if we stop, everything stops. The highway stretches ahead, lit by headlights and stars. Behind me, darkness. Beside me, shadows that might be nothing or might be everything. But I drive on, we all drive on, through the Nebraska nights and Iowa mornings, through the conspiracies and the crimes, through the fear and the duty. That's the truth about trucking. It's not just about moving cargo, it's about moving through danger, real and imagined, constant and evolving. It's about being alone in a crowd, vulnerable in armor, hunted while hunting for the next mile, the next delivery, the next day of survival. It's about knowing that somewhere out there, someone's planning the next phase 4, the next collection, the next conspiracy. And we'll be ready, not because we're heroes, but because we're truckers. We've seen the worst the road has to offer, and we keep driving anyway. Through stalkers and conspiracies, through corruption and murder, through every dark mile between here and there. We deliver. We survive. We watch. Always watching. Because on these highways, in these trucks, moving through the darkness, we're all that stands between order and chaos, between supply and shortage, between civilization and its collapse. We're the thin aluminum line, and we hold. The call came through dispatch at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday night in late September. I'd been parked at the Flying J outside Des Moines for about an hour, trying to get some sleep before my morning run to Chicago. My name's Ezekiel Boone. Been driving trucks for 12 years, mostly hauling refrigerated goods across the Midwest. The dispatcher's voice crackled through the CB. Said they needed someone to take an emergency load of medical supplies to a hospital in Cedar Rapids. The original driver had called in sick. Double rate for the overnight run. I wasn't scheduled to drive until morning, but double rate was double rate. My daughter had college tuition coming up. Every extra dollar helped. I fired up the Peterbilt and headed to the warehouse on the south side of Des Moines. The loading dock was mostly dark except for a single bay with its lights on. A forklift was already moving pallets around when I backed in. The whole thing felt rushed. The dock supervisor, a thin guy with a clipboard, barely looked at me. Just pointed where to park and walked away. No small talk, no paperwork check, nothing. They loaded me up fast, too fast. Usually takes 40 minutes to properly secure a medical shipment. They did it in 15. I should have said something, but the supervisor had already disappeared inside. I did my own check. Made sure everything was strapped down tight. The manifest said insulin and antibiotics. Temperature-sensitive stuff. The reefer unit was already running, set to 36 degrees. Perfect. I pulled out of the dock at 12:23 a.m. The highway was empty except for a few long-haul rigs heading west. I-80 to I-380 should have been a 2-hour run. Simple. About 30 minutes in, just past Newton, I saw the first sign of trouble. A car on the shoulder. Hazards flashing. Silver Honda Civic, maybe 10 years old. The hood was up. I've been driving long enough to know you don't stop for strangers at night. Not on empty stretches of Iowa highway. Too many stories. Too many drivers who stopped to help and never made it to their destination. But as I passed, I saw her. A woman standing behind the car. Young, maybe mid-20s. Dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. She wasn't waving her arms or trying to flag me down. Just standing there, arms wrapped around herself. She looked scared. I kept driving. Made it another half-mile before the guilt hit. The temperature was dropping into the 40s. She was wearing just a light jacket, no other cars in sight. I grabbed the CB. Breaker, breaker, this is westbound at mile marker 168. Got a disabled vehicle, silver Honda, female driver. Anyone else seeing this? Nothing but static. I slowed down, found a wide spot to turn around. Told myself I'd just check on her, maybe call highway patrol. I wouldn't even get out of the truck. When I pulled up behind her car, she was still standing in the same spot. Hadn't moved an inch. The headlights lit her up, and I could see she'd been crying. Mascara streaked down her cheeks. I rolled down the passenger window. "You okay, miss?" She walked closer, not too close. Stayed about 10 feet back. "My phone's dead. Car just died. Won't start." Her voice was shaky. She kept looking over her shoulder at the darkness beyond the highway. "I can call highway patrol for you," I said. "Please, I've been here for an hour. Nobody's stopped." I reached for my phone. No signal. Typical for this stretch. The CB might reach someone, but dispatch was probably the best bet. I radioed in, gave them the location, asked them to send help. "They'll send someone," I told her. "Should be here in 20-30 minutes." She nodded, but didn't look relieved. If anything, she looked more scared. Can you wait with me, please? I don't want to be alone out here." Every instinct told me to drive away, but she looked genuinely terrified. And I had a daughter about her age. If she was broken down on a dark highway, I'd want someone to stay with her. "I'll pull up in front of your car," I said. "Keep my lights on so people can see you." I moved the rig forward, parked about 30 feet ahead of her Honda, kept the engine running, lights on. I could see her in my mirrors, standing by her car. 5 minutes passed. 10. She hadn't moved, just stood there hugging herself. Then I saw the headlights approaching from behind, moving slow. Too slow for normal traffic. The vehicle pulled up behind the Honda, not highway patrol, a pickup truck. Dark color, maybe blue or black. A man got out, tall, wearing a baseball cap. I couldn't make out his face in the darkness. He walked toward the woman. She backed away, moved closer to my truck. I opened my door, leaned out. Everything okay back there?" The man looked up at me. His face was still hidden by the cap's brim. "Just stopping to help," he called out. His voice was calm, too calm. "Highway patrol's on the way," I said louder. He stood there for a moment, then walked back to his truck without another word. Got in and drove off, slow, like before. The woman was now standing right beside my passenger door. "That was him," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "What do you mean?" "He's been following me. Since Des Moines. That's why my car... I think he did something to it when I stopped for gas." My blood went cold. I looked in the mirrors. The pickup's taillights were disappearing into the darkness, but he was driving slow, like he might turn around. "Get in," I said. She shook her head. "I can't leave my car." "Get in now. We'll tell the highway patrol where it is." She hesitated for maybe 3 seconds, then ran around to the passenger side. I reached over, unlocked the door. She climbed up, slammed it shut, locked it. "Thank you," she breathed. "Thank you so much." I put the truck in gear, started to pull forward. That's when I saw him. The man from the pickup. He was standing in the middle of the highway about 100 yards ahead. Just standing there, arms at his sides. I hit the brakes. The woman saw him too. She made a sound, half gasp, half whimper. "That's not possible," I said. He drove off. I saw him drive off. But there he was. Same height, same cap, same stance. "Please," the woman said. "Please just go. Run him over if you have to." I flashed my high beams, hit the horn. The figure didn't move. Then another figure stepped out from the shoulder. Another man, same height, same build, like looking at twins. "What the hell?" I muttered. The woman was crying now. "There's more of them. Oh God, there's more of them." I looked in the mirrors. 2 more figures were walking up from behind the truck. Same slow, measured pace. Same dark clothes. "Lock your door," I said. "Make sure it's locked." It is. I reached under my seat, pulled out the tire iron I keep there. Not much of a weapon, but better than nothing. The figures were getting closer. The 2 in front were maybe 50 yards away now. The 2 behind, 30. "We're going through," I said. "Hold on." I revved the engine. The sound echoed across the empty highway. The figures in front didn't react, didn't step aside, didn't even flinch. 20 yards. 10. At the last second, they stepped aside. Smooth, synchronized, like they'd practiced it. I drove between them, accelerating hard. The truck's engine roared. In the mirrors, I saw them standing in a line across the highway. 4 figures, all the same height, all watching us go. "My name's Ada," the woman said. "Ada Whitmore." "Ezekiel Boone," I replied, eyes still checking mirrors. We drove in silence for 5 minutes. 10. No one following. Just empty highway stretching ahead. "What did they want?" I finally asked. Ada was staring straight ahead. "I don't know. I was driving home from a friend's house in Des Moines. Noticed the pickup following me about an hour ago. Every turn I made, it made. When I stopped for gas in Newton, it pulled in too. The driver didn't get out. Just sat there watching me." "You get a license plate?" She shook her head. "Too dark, and I was scared. I just wanted to get back on the highway, find somewhere safe." "How'd your car break down?" "I don't know. It just started losing power. Check engine light came on, then it just died, coasted to the shoulder." I thought about the timing. Her car breaks down on an empty stretch of highway. The pickup shows up. Then somehow, the same guy is ahead of us on the road. And there were 4 of them. 4 identical men. We need to call the police, I said. With what? You said there's no signal out here. She was right. We were in a dead zone. Would be for another 20 miles at least. There's a truck stop at exit 201, I said. We'll call from there. Ada nodded. She was still trembling. Thank you for stopping, for helping me. I don't know what would have happened if... She didn't finish. Didn't need to. We were 5 miles from the exit when I saw them again, not behind us, ahead. 4 figures standing on the overpass. Just standing there. Watching. That's not possible, Ada whispered. How did they get ahead of us? I didn't answer, couldn't answer. The math didn't work. We'd been driving 70 miles per hour. They'd been on foot or in a pickup that went the opposite direction. As we passed under the overpass, I looked up. They were looking down. All 4. Same caps, same stance, same everything. Ezekiel, Ada said. There's something I didn't tell you. I glanced at her. Her face was pale in the dashboard lights. This isn't the first time I've seen them. What do you mean? 3 weeks ago, I was driving back from Omaha, late night, like tonight. Saw 4 men standing by the side of the road, just standing there, identical. I thought I was seeing things, tired, you know. But now, where? Where did you see them? Different highway, I-29, but same time of night, same formation, 4 of them. My hands tightened on the wheel. Did they follow you? No, I just drove past. But the next day, I saw on the news, a woman went missing on that same stretch of road. Her car was found abandoned, no sign of her. Did you tell the police? Tell them what? That I saw 4 identical men standing by the highway? They'd think I was crazy. Exit 201 was coming up. The truck stop's lights were visible in the distance. Safety. Phones. People. But as we took the exit, I saw them again. Not 4 this time. 8. 4 on each side of the ramp. Standing in the tall grass. Watching. Ada saw them too. She grabbed my arm. Don't stop. Please don't stop. I won't. The truck stop was busy. 3 other rigs parked out front. Cars at the gas pumps. Normal people doing normal things. I pulled into the brightest spot I could find, right under a light pole. Come on, I said. Let's go inside. Call the police. We climbed down from the cab. Ada stayed close to me as we walked toward the building. I kept looking back. No sign of the figures. No dark pickup. Just a normal truck stop on a Tuesday night. Inside, the fluorescent lights were harsh but welcome. A few truckers sat at the counter drinking coffee. The clerk, a middle-aged woman with tired eyes, looked up as we entered. Phone? I asked. She pointed to the back corner. I guided Ada toward it, pulled out quarters from my pocket. Dialed 911. The dispatcher answered on the second ring. I explained the situation. Abandoned car at mile marker 168. Woman being followed. Multiple suspects. Possibly dangerous. We'll send units to check the vehicle, the dispatcher said. Are you and the woman safe now? Yeah. We're at the Flying Wings truck stop. Exit 201. Stay there. An officer will come to take your statements. I hung up, turned to Ada. They're sending someone. She nodded, but she was looking past me, at the window. Her face went white. I turned around. They were standing in the parking lot, all 8 of them, spread out in a line, just beyond the lights, watching. They followed us, Ada whispered. A trucker at the counter turned to look where we were staring. What are you folks looking at? You don't see them? I asked. 8 men, standing out there. The trucker squinted. Don't see nobody. I looked again. They were still there. Clear as day to me. But the trucker was shaking his head, turning back to his coffee. "We see them," Ada said quietly, "but no one else does." "That's impossible." "Is it? Everything about this is impossible." One of the figures took a step forward, into the light, and for the first time I saw his face clearly. It wasn't a face, it was a blank, smooth skin where features should be. No eyes, no nose, no mouth, just flesh. Ada made a choking sound. "We need to leave, now. The police are coming." "They won't see them. No one else can see them. We need to go." "But go where?" My truck was outside. They were outside. We were trapped. The clerk was watching us now. "You folks okay?" "Yeah," I lied. "Just tired. Long night." She nodded, went back to her magazine. I looked out the window again. The figures hadn't moved. Still in their line, still watching with faces that couldn't watch. "There's a back door," Ada said. "Through the kitchen. I saw it when we came in. My truck's out front. Leave it. We'll find another way." "I can't leave my truck. It's my livelihood. And there's medical supplies, insulin, antibiotics. People need them." Ada grabbed my hands. Her fingers were ice cold. "People need you alive, too." Before I could respond, the front door chimed. A man walked in. Tall, baseball cap, normal face. He looked around, eyes landing on us. "Harlan Vance," he said, walking over. "I heard you folks might need some help." I tensed. "Who told you that?" "Police dispatcher. I'm with Highway Patrol, off duty, but I was in the area. They asked me to check on you." He pulled out a badge. It looked real, but after everything that had happened, I wasn't sure what real meant anymore. "You reported suspicious individuals following you," Harlan continued. "They're outside," Ada said, "in the parking lot." Harlan looked out the window. "I don't see anyone." "They're there. 8 of them." He studied us for a moment, then pulled out a small notebook. "Why don't you tell me everything, from the beginning?" So I did. The broken-down car, the pickup, the identical figures, the faces with no faces. Harlan wrote it all down without expression. When I finished, he closed the notebook. "This isn't the first time something like this has been reported." "What?" Ada leaned forward. "Past 3 months, 4 different incidents, same stretch of highway, same description, multiple identical figures, only visible to certain people." "What happens to those people?" I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted to know. Harlan hesitated. 3 of them disappeared. Their vehicles were found. They weren't. And the 4th? Committed suicide a week later. Left a note saying they never stopped watching. Ada's hand found mine under the table. "What are they?" she asked. "I don't know. No one knows. But there's a pattern. They only appear to people who are alone or in pairs. Never to groups, and they seem to focus on specific individuals. Why us? I don't know that either. But I know you're not safe here." I looked out the window. The figures were still there, but now they were closer. Standing at the edge of the parking lot lights. "They're moving," I said. Harlan looked. "I still don't see them, but I believe you. We need to get you somewhere safe, somewhere public. Lots of people. Where?" "There's a 24-hour Walmart in Cedar Rapids, always crowded. Security cameras everywhere. If these things don't like groups, that's our best bet." "That's where I was heading anyway," I said, "with the medical supplies. Then we go together. I'll escort you. Stay close to my vehicle." We stood up. The clerk looked over again. "Everything all right?" "Fine," Harlan said, showing his badge. "Just taking statements." She nodded, satisfied. Harlan turned to us. "Walk between me and the building. Don't look at them. Don't acknowledge them. Just walk to my car." What about my truck? We'll come back for it, with backup, during daylight. I didn't like it, but Ada was right. The truck was just metal and cargo. Our lives were worth more. We walked out together. Harlan in front, me and Ada behind. I could feel them watching. 8 blank faces turning to track our movement. Harlan's car was unmarked Crown Victoria. Police interceptor. He opened the back door for us. Get in, lock the doors. We scrambled inside. Harlan got in the driver's seat, started the engine. They're moving, Ada said. She was right. The figures were walking toward us. Slow, measured, synchronized. Harlan put the car in reverse. Hold on. He backed up fast, spun the wheel, shifted to drive. The figures kept coming, walking faster now, still synchronized. Go! Ada shouted. Harlan floored it. We shot out of the parking lot, tires squealing. I looked back. The figures had stopped at the edge of the lot, standing in their line again, watching. Jesus Christ, I muttered. They won't follow, Harlan said. They never follow into populated areas. How do you know? Experience. I've been tracking these things for 6 months, ever since the first disappearance. And no one else knows about them? My superiors think I'm chasing shadows. The FBI won't touch it without physical evidence. And how do you provide evidence of something only certain people can see? We drove in silence for a few minutes. The highway was empty. No other cars, no figures. Just darkness and our headlights cutting through it. What do they want? Ada asked. I don't know. The survivor, the one who killed himself, he said they talked to him. In his dreams. Showed him things. What things? He wouldn't say, just kept repeating, they're collectors, they're collecting. Collecting what? Harlan glanced at us in the rearview mirror. People, I think, specific people. For what purpose, I don't know. Cedar Rapids appeared ahead. Lights of the city. Safety, maybe. The Walmart's just off the highway, Harlan said. We'll stay there until morning. I'll call for backup, real backup, people I trust. And then what? I asked. Then we figure out why they chose you two, and how to make them stop. But even as he said it, I knew it wouldn't be that simple. These things, whatever they were, they'd marked us, and they were patient. As we took the exit for Cedar Rapids, I saw them one more time. Not 8 now, dozens. Standing along both sides of the highway, all identical, all watching. Ada saw them too. She squeezed my hand so hard it hurt. They're growing in number, she whispered. Harlan pushed the speedometer to 80. Don't look at them. Don't give them power. Power? Attention, focus, fear, whatever fuels them. The Walmart parking lot was bright and busy despite the late hour. People loading groceries, employees collecting carts, normal life happening. We parked near the entrance, got out quickly, walked inside together. The fluorescent lights were overwhelming after the darkness. Muzak played overhead. A greeter nodded at us. We'll be safe here, Harlan said. They won't come inside. You sure? No, but it's the best option we have. We found a bench near the customer service desk. Sat down. Ada was still trembling. I need to call someone, she said. Let them know I'm okay. Not yet, Harlan said. We don't know how they track people. Phone calls might be a trigger. That's insane. Everything about this is insane, but we have to be careful. An hour passed, then 2. No sign of the figures. Just normal Walmart chaos. People shopping, employees stocking, life continuing. Around 4 a.m., exhaustion hit. Ada was dozing on my shoulder. Harlan was still alert, watching everyone who came through the doors. You should rest, he said. I'll keep watch. I can't. Every time I close my eyes, I see those faces. Those non-faces. I know. But you need strength for what comes next. Which is what? He was quiet for a moment, then running, hiding, or fighting. Those are the only options with these things. How do you fight something that isn't really there? By finding out why they chose you. There's always a reason, a connection. Something that makes certain people visible to them. What kind of connection? I don't know. But the 4 victims, they all had something in common. What? They'd all seen something they weren't supposed to see. Different things, at different times. But each had witnessed something that was meant to stay hidden. I thought about it. Had I seen something? Witnessed something? Nothing came to mind. What about you, Ada? Harlan asked. Anything unusual happen recently besides tonight? She was quiet for a long time. Then, 3 weeks ago, the night I first saw them. Earlier that evening, I was driving through Council Bluffs. Saw a van pulled over. 2 men loading something into the back. It looked like a body, wrapped in plastic. Harlan leaned forward. Did you report it? No, I was scared. Just kept driving. Told myself it was probably nothing. Maybe they were moving a mannequin or something. Did they see you? I don't think so. It was dark. I drove past quickly. But maybe they did. Maybe that's what triggered this. Are you saying those things are connected to whatever I saw? I'm saying there might be a connection. These entities, they might be drawn to witnesses. People who've seen things that were meant to stay buried. I thought harder. Had I seen anything? Then it hit me. 6 months ago, I said. I was hauling a load through Illinois. Stopped at a rest area. Saw 2 state troopers beating a man, really working him over. He wasn't resisting, just taking it. Did you intervene? No, I filmed it on my phone, sent it to the state police internal affairs. Never heard back. Harlan nodded. That could be it. Both of you witnessed crimes, serious crimes, and now these things are after you. But why? What do they want? Maybe to silence you, or maybe to collect you for someone else, someone who doesn't want witnesses. It was a terrifying thought, that these things might be tools, weapons, sent by someone human. So what do we do? Ada asked. Before Harlan could answer, the lights flickered. Just for a second. But in that second I saw them, inside the store, standing in every aisle. Dozens of them, all facing us. Then the light steadied, and they were gone. Did you see that? I whispered. Harlan nodded grimly. They're getting stronger, or we're getting weaker. Either way, we need to move. Harlan stood up fast. We're leaving, now. He grabbed Ada's arm, pulled her to her feet. I followed. We moved toward the exit, trying not to run, trying not to draw attention. The automatic doors opened. The parking lot was still lit. Still had people. But something was different. The temperature had dropped 20 degrees. Our breath came out in clouds. My car, Harlan said. Quick. We jogged toward the Crown Vic. That's when I saw them. Not dozens now, hundreds. Standing between every car, filling every empty space, all facing us. Ada stopped. We can't. They're everywhere. They can't touch you in public, Harlan said. Too many witnesses. Keep moving. But he was wrong. As we walked past them, they moved, shifted position, always staying just outside our direct vision. Present, but not present. There, but not there. We reached the car. Harlan fumbled with his keys, dropped them, cursed, picked them up. That's when one of them spoke. Not with a mouth. It didn't have a mouth, but the words formed in my head, clear as if someone was standing next to me. Ezekiel Boone, you have been selected. I spun around. The nearest figure was 3 feet away, its blank face somehow staring right at me. Selected for what? I said out loud. Ada and Harlan looked at me. Who are you talking to? Ada asked. You don't hear it? They shook their heads. The voice came again. You witnessed, you recorded. You must be collected. I don't understand. Understanding is not required. Compliance is. Harlan got the door open. Get in, both of you. We piled into the car. Harlan started the engine, threw it in reverse, but the car didn't move. The engine revved, but we stayed in place. What the hell? Harlan shifted to drive. Still nothing. I looked out the window. They were touching the car now. Dozens of hands pressed against the metal, holding us in place. They're not supposed to be able to do that, Harlan said. They're not supposed to be physical. The voice in my head again. Rules change, power grows, collection must be completed. What do you want? I shouted. You and the woman. Witnesses must be removed. Removed where? Where testimony cannot reach. Where evidence cannot exist. Ada was crying now. What's happening? What are they saying? I turned to her. They want us because we witnessed crimes. They're going to take us somewhere. Take us where? I don't know. Somewhere we can't testify. Harlan was on his radio. This is Unit 447. Officer needs assistance. Walmart parking lot, Cedar Rapids. Code 3. Static. Then, Unit 447, this is dispatch. What's the nature of the emergency? Multiple suspects. Attempted kidnapping. Send backup now. Copy that. Units en route. But I knew it wouldn't matter. They wouldn't see the figures. They'd find 3 crazy people in a car, claiming invisible men were attacking them. The pressure on the car increased. The windows started to crack. Spiderweb patterns spreading across the glass. We need to get out, I said. And go where? Harlan asked. Inside, back to the store, more people. They were inside too. But they didn't touch us there. Maybe they can't. Maybe there's a limit. The rear window shattered. Cold air rushed in, and with it the smell, like ozone, like the air before a lightning strike. Out! Now! Harlan shouted. We burst out of the car simultaneously. The figures stepped back, creating a path. Not to safety, to the edge of the parking lot, to the darkness beyond. They're hurting us, Ada said. She was right. Every direction except one was blocked. They wanted us to go into the field behind the Walmart, into the darkness. We stay together, Harlan said, no matter what. We backed towards the store. The figures followed, moving in perfect unison, like a single organism with hundreds of bodies. The automatic doors opened behind us. We stumbled inside. The greeter, an elderly man, looked concerned. You folks all right? Call security, Harlan said, showing his badge, and lock the doors. I can't lock them, they're automatic. Then shut them down. Emergency override. The greeter hesitated, then reached for his walkie-talkie. But before he could speak, the lights went out. Complete darkness. Screams from somewhere in the store. Emergency lighting kicked in a second later, bathing everything in red. They were inside now. All of them. Standing in every aisle, on every shelf. Some on the ceiling, defying gravity. Customers were running. But they weren't running from the figures. They couldn't see them. They were running from the darkness, the sudden power failure. This way, Harlan said. He led us toward the back of the store, through the electronics section, past the pharmacy. The figures followed, not walking, gliding, their feet not quite touching the floor. We reached the employee area. Double doors marked employees only. Harlan kicked them open. A hallway stretched beyond. Offices on one side, storage rooms on the other. "Where are we going?" Ada asked. "Loading dock. There'll be trucks, we can hide in one." But when we reached the loading area, it was empty. No trucks. Just a vast concrete space with closed bay doors. "Shit," Harlan muttered. The figures poured through the doorway behind us, spreading out, surrounding us, no escape now. The voice in my head was louder now. Multiple voices, all saying the same thing. "Collection time! Collection time! Collection time!" I covered my ears, but it didn't help. The voices were inside. Ada grabbed my arm. "Ezekiel, look!" She was pointing at the wall. There was a door I hadn't noticed, small, marked maintenance. "Go," Harlan said. "I'll hold them." "How? You can't even see them." "I don't need to see them." He pulled out his gun. "I just need to slow them down. Bullets won't work on them." "Maybe not, but they'll work on me. And if I'm dead, I can't be collected." "That's insane. Everything about this is insane." He looked at us. "Go. Find help. Real help. Someone who understands these things. Harlan, go!" We ran for the maintenance door. Behind us, I heard Harlan's gunfire. Once, twice, then silence. The door led to a narrow stairwell going down. Basement level. We descended into darkness, feeling our way along the wall. At the bottom, another door. I pushed it open. Beyond was a tunnel, concrete walls, pipes running along the ceiling. Emergency lights every 20 feet. "Service tunnel," I said, "connects to other buildings." We ran. Our footsteps echoed off the walls. Behind us I could hear them. Not footsteps. That gliding sound. Getting closer. The tunnel branched, left and right. We went left. Another branch, right this time. Trying to lose them in the maze, but they were in my head now. The voices. "You cannot escape. Collection is inevitable." Ada was struggling to keep up. "I can't. I need to stop." "We can't stop." "I know, but..." She collapsed. Just dropped to the concrete. I caught her before her head hit. "Ada! Ada, wake up!" Her eyes were open but vacant, looking at something that wasn't there. "They're in my head," she whispered, showing me things. What things? The van, the body. It wasn't the first. There were others. So many others. And they knew I saw. They've always known. I picked her up. She was light. Too light. Like something had been drained from her. I kept moving, carrying her, following the tunnel. It had to lead somewhere, had to exit somewhere. Finally, another stairwell. Up this time. I climbed, Ada in my arms, pushed through the door at the top. We were in a parking garage, empty, silent, dawn light filtering through the openings. I set Ada down, checked her pulse, weak but steady. "Ada, we're out. We made it out." She opened her eyes, focused on me. "They're not gone. They're never gone. We'll find help, real help." "There's no help, don't you understand? They're not from here. They're from somewhere else, somewhere wrong." "What do you mean?" "The things they showed me. The place they come from, it's like here but broken, twisted, and they're bringing it with them, changing our world to match theirs." I heard the gliding sound again, coming from the stairwell. "Can you walk?" She nodded, struggled to her feet. We moved between the parked cars, looking for an exit. There, a sign. "Exit to street level." We pushed through the door, found ourselves on a sidewalk. Downtown Cedar Rapids. Early morning. People heading to work. Normal life happening. "We need to find a police station," I said. "They won't believe us. Then a hospital. You need medical attention." "I need to hide." We both do. A taxi pulled up to the curb. The driver, an older black man, rolled down his window. "You folks need a ride?" I helped Ada into the back seat. Yeah, we do. Where to?" I started to say police station, but Ada squeezed my hand. "The bus station," she said. "Greyhound terminal." The driver nodded, pulled into traffic. I looked back. They were standing on the sidewalk, dozens of them, watching us drive away, not following, just watching. "Why aren't they following?" I asked. Ada leaned against me. "Because they know where we're going. They always know." The bus station was small, maybe a dozen people waiting. We bought 2 tickets to Chicago. Next bus left in an hour. We found seats in the corner. Ada closed her eyes, but I knew she wasn't sleeping. "Tell me about the place they showed you," I said. "It's Earth, but different. Like someone took our world and let it rot. The buildings are there, but wrong. Twisted. The people," she shuddered. "The people are worse. How do they travel between worlds? Through witnesses. People who've seen things they shouldn't. It creates a crack, a weakness. They exploit it. So, everyone who witnesses a crime. No, just certain crimes. The ones that would change things if exposed. The ones that matter." I thought about the cops I'd filmed. Beating that man. Had I ever checked what happened to him? Was he even still alive? "The van you saw," I said. "The body. Bodies. Plural. The men in the van, they're connected to this. They're not the figures, but they work with them, or for them. Human collaborators. Has to be. Someone has to identify the witnesses, mark them for collection." The bus arrived. We boarded, took seats in the back. Only a handful of other passengers. None of them looked at us twice. As we pulled out of the station, I saw them again, standing on every corner, on every rooftop, hundreds of them, maybe thousands. "Jesus," I whispered. Ada looked out the window. "They're spreading. The more witnesses they collect, the stronger they get. How do we stop them?" "We don't. We run. We hide. We survive as long as we can." The bus headed east toward Chicago. Interstate 80, the same highway where this all started. We passed the exit where I'd abandoned my truck. Probably still there, with the medical supplies that never made it to Cedar Rapids. "I'm sorry," Ada said. "For what?" "For getting you involved. If you hadn't stopped to help me, you'd be gone, collected, whatever that means. Maybe that would have been better." "Don't say that." She was quiet for a long moment, then, "The cop, Harlan. Do you think he's dead?" "I don't know. He saved us." "Yeah, he did. But I wasn't sure we were saved. Just delayed. The figures were still out there, still watching, still waiting." The sun climbed higher. Other passengers dozed or read or stared at phones. Normal people living normal lives, unaware of the things that moved just outside their perception. We were an hour outside Chicago when Ada grabbed my arm, hard. "Something's wrong." I looked around. The other passengers were all turned toward us, all of them, staring with vacant eyes. "No," I breathed. They stood up in unison, moved toward us with that same gliding motion. The bus driver looked in the mirror. His eyes were blank, too. "They're not the figures," Ada said. "They're people. Possessed, controlled." The bus started to accelerate. 70, 80, 90. "He's going to crash," I said. The possessed passengers were almost to us, hands reaching, faces blank. I grabbed the emergency exit handle, pulled hard. An alarm sounded, but the door opened. Wind roared in. "We have to jump." "At this speed?" better than whatever they have planned. Ada looked at the possessed passengers, then at the open door, the highway racing past. "On 3, she said. 1. The passengers lunged forward. 2. Their hands almost on us. 3. We jumped, hit the grassy median hard, rolled. Pain shot through my shoulder, my leg. But I was alive. The bus kept going, didn't slow, didn't stop, disappeared around a curve. Ada was 20 feet away, not moving. I crawled to her. Ada, Ada, talk to me." She opened her eyes, blood on her forehead. "Did we make it?" "Yeah, we made it." But when I looked up, they were there. The figures standing in a circle around us, hundreds deep. The voice in my head. "Collection complete." No, we're still here, still in the world. Your world, our world. The distinction fades. The circle began to close. Ada grabbed my hand. "I'm sorry, Ezekiel. Don't be. I saw my parents in the visions. They're already there, in that other place. Maybe we'll find them. Maybe." The figures were close now, close enough to touch. And then they did. The world shifted. Colors inverted. Sounds became visible. Light became dark. We were still on the highway. But it was wrong. The asphalt was breathing. The sky was the color of old blood. In the distance, buildings twisted into impossible shapes. "Welcome," the voice said, no longer in my head, coming from everywhere. "To the place between. The place where witnesses are kept." I looked at Ada. She was changing, becoming transparent, like she was fading. What's happening to her? She's becoming part of the collection, as will you. How many? How many have you taken? Thousands. Soon, millions. Every witness, every truth-seer, every recorder of sins. Why? Because truth breaks worlds, and broken worlds must be contained. I felt myself starting to fade too, starting to become less solid, less real. Ada squeezed my hand, or tried to. Our fingers passed through each other. "Fight it," she said, but her voice was distant, echoing. "How? Remember. Remember who you are, what you saw, why it mattered." I tried to hold on to memories. My truck, my daughter, the cops beating that man, the video I took, but it was all slipping away, becoming fog. "That's it," the voice said. "Let go. Become nothing. Become part of the whole." I was almost gone, almost completely faded. When I heard it, a gunshot, then another. The figures turned, all of them, looking at something I couldn't see. More gunshots and voices. Human voices. "There! 2 subjects! Get them out!" Hands grabbed me. Solid hands, real hands. Pulled me up, pulled me back. The world shifted again. Colors returned to normal. The highway was just a highway. Harlan was there. Alive. Bloody, but alive. And he wasn't alone. A dozen others in tactical gear, weapons drawn. "We got them," one said into a radio. 2 survivors. Multiple entities still present. "How?" I managed to say. Harlan smiled grimly. "I called for real backup. The kind that knows about these things. There are others who know? A few, hidden in various agencies. We've been tracking these entities for years. Can you stop them?" "No, but we can slow them down, save a few people." Ada was unconscious but breathing. They loaded her onto a stretcher. "She'll be okay," Harlan said. "Physically, anyway. The psychological trauma, what about the others? The ones already taken?" Harlan's expression darkened. "Gone. Once you're fully in that place, there's no coming back. They put me on a stretcher, too. As they loaded me into an ambulance, I looked back at the highway. They were still there. The figures standing in their perfect lines, watching. They'll keep coming, I said. Yes, Harlan agreed. They will. For me, for Ada, for everyone who's seen too much, known too much, that's their purpose. Then we'll never be safe. No, you won't, but we'll protect you as best we can. The ambulance doors closed. We drove away. But I knew it wasn't over. It would never be over. In the hospital, they ran tests, physical, psychological, asked questions I couldn't answer, showed me images I wished I could forget. Ada was in the room next door. I could hear her sometimes, crying, screaming, calling out for people who weren't there. Harlan visited on the third day. How are you holding up? I'm alive. That's more than most can say after encountering them. What happens now? Witness protection. New identities. New lives. Far from here. Will that work? Maybe, for a while. And the things we witnessed, the crimes, being investigated quietly, carefully. The cops I filmed? Under arrest. The man they beat died 3 days later. And the van Ada saw? Found, along with 12 bodies, serial killers, operating for years. So it mattered, what we saw. Yes, it mattered. But was it worth it? Worth what happened to us? Harlan didn't answer. Didn't need to. We both knew there was no good answer to that question. That night, I dreamed of the other place, the twisted world, the collected witnesses. They were calling to me, telling me I belonged there. I woke to find one of them standing by my bed. A figure, blank-faced, silent, but it didn't touch me. Just stood there, watching. You can't take me, I said. Not anymore. It tilted its head, then faded away. But I knew it would be back. They always came back. The next morning, they moved us. Black SUVs, tinted windows. No explanation of where we were going. Ada was quiet during the drive. Stared out the window at the passing landscape. Do you still see them? I asked. Sometimes, at the edge of things, waiting. Me too. Harlan says it'll fade, the connection. Do you believe him? She turned to me. Her eyes were older now, haunted. No. I think once you've seen that place, you never stop seeing it. We drove for hours. Through states I didn't recognize. Finally stopped at a small house, middle of nowhere, surrounded by fields. Your new home, Harlan said. For now. For how long? Until it's safe. It'll never be safe. Then for as long as we can manage. The house was simple. 2 bedrooms, kitchen, living room. Everything we needed, nothing we wanted. There are cameras, Harlan explained. Motion sensors, panic buttons. Someone's always watching. Watching for them? Watching for anything unusual. He left us with new names, new histories, new lives to pretend to live. But at night, when the darkness came, so did they. Standing in the fields. Circles within circles. Hundreds, thousands. 3 weeks passed in that house. 3 weeks of pretending to be someone else. Someone named David Mills. Ada was Sarah Mills. My wife, according to the paperwork. We didn't talk about what happened, not during the day, but at night, we'd sit by the window and watch them, the figures. They never came closer than the edge of the property, like there was an invisible barrier. Maybe the sensors keep them back, Ada said one night. Maybe. Or maybe they're just waiting for the right moment. She was healing. The cut on her forehead had scarred. a thin, white line that she tried to hide with her hair. But the real scars were deeper, in the way she jumped at sudden sounds, the way she checked every corner before entering a room. I wasn't much better. Hadn't slept more than 3 hours straight since we arrived. Every time I closed my eyes, I was back in that other place. The twisted world. Could feel myself fading again. The phone rang on a Tuesday morning. Harlan's voice. "We have a problem." "What kind of problem?" 3 more witnesses have been taken. Same pattern, same entities. Where? Nebraska, Minnesota, Wisconsin. They're spreading out from Iowa. Like a virus. Exactly like a virus. And we think we know why. He explained that they'd been analyzing the patterns, the locations, the timing. Everything pointed to a central source, a place where the barrier between worlds was thinnest. "Where?" I asked. "A farm, outside Council Bluffs, the place where Ada saw the van." Ada was listening on speaker. Her face went pale. "We need you both to come back," Harlan continued. "Help us understand what you saw, what you experienced." "No," Ada said immediately. "We're not going back there. People are dying, disappearing. You two are the only ones who've been to the other place and returned." "We didn't return," I said. "Said you pulled us out." "Same difference. You have knowledge we need." "Knowledge of what?" "That place is madness. Broken reality. There's nothing to understand." "That's where you're wrong. Our researchers have been studying the testimonies. The visions, there's a pattern, a logic. These entities aren't random, they're organized. They have a hierarchy." "A hierarchy?" "Leaders, soldiers, workers. Like a hive." "And you want to do what? Attack the hive?" "We want to understand it, find weaknesses." Ada stood up, walked to the window. The figures were there, as always, standing in the corn. "They're listening," she said, "right now, to this conversation." "How do you know?" She turned to me. Her eyes were different, darker. "Because I can hear them. They never fully left my head." I went cold. "Ada." "It's been getting stronger. The connection. I tried to fight it, but why didn't you tell me?" "Because I knew you'd tell Harlan, and they'd take me away. Study me. Turn me into a lab rat." Harlan's voice came through the phone. "Ada, if you're compromised, we need to know." She laughed, bitter. "Compromised. That's a nice word for it." "What are they telling you?" "That resistance is pointless. That the collection will continue. That the 2 worlds will merge eventually." "Merge?" "Their world bleeding into ours. Our reality becoming twisted like theirs. It's already starting. Haven't you noticed?" I thought about the news lately. Strange events. Unexplained disappearances. Mass hallucinations. Things that didn't make sense. "The crime rate," Harlan said slowly. "It's been spiking. Specifically, the kinds of crimes that create witnesses." "Because they need more witnesses," Ada said. "More cracks between worlds. They're farming us." "Who's they?" "The entities." "No. The humans working with them. The ones in the van. There are more of them, lots more. Creating situations that require witnesses. A conspiracy. A cultivation. They're preparing Earth for harvest." The phone was silent for a long moment. Then Harlan said, "We need to stop this." "You can't stop it," Ada said. "It's too late. Too many cracks. Too many witnesses taken. We have to try. Then you'll end up like us. Or worse." But I could hear it in Harlan's voice, the determination, the desperation. He was going to that farm with or without us. "If we come," I said, "what's the plan?" "We have a team. Special ops. People who've dealt with anomalies before. We go in, investigate, gather intelligence. And if the entities are there, we have weapons. Experimental, designed to disrupt their frequency. Their frequency? They exist on a different wavelength than us, like radio stations. The weapons can jam their signal, temporarily. Ada turned from the window. It won't work. They're not just energy. They're something else, something older. How do you know? She touched her temple. Because they're showing me. The history. They've been here before, thousands of years ago. They took entire civilizations. What happened to those civilizations? Gone. Collected. Stored in that other place. Still conscious. Still aware. Suffering for eternity. My skin crawled. Jesus Christ. We leave in 6 hours, Harlan said. Be ready. He hung up. Ada sat down next to me, took my hand. We're going to die, she said. Simply. Matter of fact. Maybe. Definitely, I've seen it, in the visions. Our bodies at that farm, along with Harlan's team. Then we don't go. And let others die in our place? She squeezed my hand. No, we face it, together. Ada, I'm tired of running, tired of hiding, tired of pretending these new names mean something. If we're going to end, let's end fighting. 6 hours later, a black van pulled up. Not Harlan, a woman in tactical gear. Short, muscular, scars on her neck. I'm Bishop, she said. I'll be your escort. Where's Harlan? Already at the staging area. Get in. The van had no windows in the back. We sat on benches, surrounded by equipment I didn't recognize. Weapons that looked more like scientific instruments than guns. You've done this before, I said to Bishop. Done what? Fought these things. Not these specifically, but similar entities, reality bleeders, we call them. Reality bleeders? Things that shouldn't exist in our dimension but do, usually because someone was stupid enough to invite them in. No one invited these things. Someone did. Maybe not intentionally, but every witness who sees something they shouldn't, they create an invitation, a crack. So it's our fault? It's nobody's fault. It's everybody's fault. It's the nature of reality. Too much truth breaks the world. Ada laughed, dark. Too much truth. You find that funny? I find it ironic. We're being punished for seeing the truth. Not punished. Collected. There's a difference. Is there? Bishop didn't answer. We drove for 3 hours. Finally stopped. When the doors opened, we were at an abandoned truck stop. I recognized it. The same one where I'd first stopped that night. Where this all began. Why here? I asked. A central location, Bishop said. And appropriate, don't you think? Harlan was there with a team of 8 others, all in black tactical gear, all carrying those strange weapons. Thank you for coming, he said. Like we had a choice, Ada muttered. There's always a choice. You chose to help, that matters. He led us to a command vehicle. Inside, monitors showed aerial views of a farm. The van location. It looked normal from above. House, barn, fields. Thermal imaging shows no human presence, a technician said. But there are anomalies. What kind of anomalies? Cold spots. Dozens of them. Moving in patterns. The entities. Even on thermal, they were wrong. We go in at midnight, Harlan said. 2 teams. Bishop leads Alpha team to the barn. I take Beta team to the house. You 2 stay in the command vehicle. No, Ada said. We need to be there. It's too dangerous. Everything's dangerous now, but we have a connection to them. We might be able to communicate. Or they might take you immediately. They haven't yet, even though they could have. They want something else from us. What? Ada looked at me, then back at Harlan. They want us to witness the merge, the moment when the two worlds become one. We're supposed to be their historians. How do you know this? She touched her temple again. They tell me. Constantly. It's why they haven't collected us yet. We're special. The first successful returns from the other place. Then you definitely can't go. You're compromised. I'm informed. There's a difference. And that information might save your team. Harlan considered, then nodded. You stay with me. Both of you, close. Midnight came too fast. We suited up in protective gear that felt worthless against entities that could walk through walls. The weapons were heavy, humming with energy. Remember, Bishop said to her team, these things react to fear. Stay calm, stay focused, and whatever you see in there, don't trust it. We moved across the dark field. No moon, just stars and the faint green glow of night vision goggles. The farm was silent. No insects, no wind, like the world was holding its breath. Alpha Team peeled off toward the barn. Beta Team continued to the house. Me, Ada, and Harlan brought up the rear. The front door was open, not forced, just open, inviting. We entered, swept the rooms with weapons raised, empty, but not abandoned. Furniture still in place. Pictures on the walls. A family, parents, 3 kids, all smiling. Where are they? Someone whispered. Check the basement, Harlan ordered. 2 team members moved toward the basement door. Opened it. The smell hit immediately. Decomposition. Death. Bodies, one reported. Multiple. We descended. The basement was larger than the house above, extended into tunnels, and along the walls, wrapped in plastic, were corpses, dozens of them. The witnesses, Ada said, the ones who saw too much. But they were supposed to be collected, taken to the other place. Not all of them. Some are kept here as anchors. Anchors? To keep the crack open. Their bodies here, their consciousness there. Living bridges between worlds. One of the bodies moved, slightly, still wrapped in plastic but moving. Jesus, someone said. They're still alive. No, Ada corrected. There's something else, not alive, not dead, suspended. We need to get them out. You can't. Moving them would... The lights went out. Complete darkness. Even the night vision went static. Then the gliding sound, all around us. They were here. Weapons free, Harlan shouted. The strange guns fired, not bullets, pulses of energy that lit up the darkness like strobes. In the flashes, I saw them. Hundreds of figures, filling every space, but the weapons were working. Where the pulses hit, the figures wavered, became less solid. Move! Back to the stairs! We fought our way through them. Ada stayed close to me, not fighting, just walking. They didn't touch her, like she was one of them. Ada? It's okay, she said. I understand now. Understand what? Why we're here. What they really want. We reached the stairs, climbed. The figures followed but kept their distance. The weapons were holding them back. In the house, Alpha Team was already there. Bishop's face was grim. The barn, she said. You need to see the barn. We followed her outside, across the yard, into the barn. It wasn't a barn anymore. It was a gateway. In the center of the space, reality was torn. A hole in the world. And through it, I could see the other place. The twisted version of Earth. But it wasn't empty. It was full. Millions of collected witnesses, all conscious, all screaming silently. My God, Harlan breathed. It's beautiful, Ada said. We all turned to look at her. Her eyes were completely black now. Ada, no. It's okay, Ezekiel. This is what I was meant to see. What we were both meant to see. She walked toward the tear. I grabbed her arm. Don't. She smiled, sad. I have to. It's the only way to close it. What are you talking about? A witness who chooses to cross over. Not collected. Volunteering. It breaks their system. Confuses the programming. Programming? They're not entities. They're programs. Automated systems left behind by something much older. And like any program, they can be crashed. Ada, please. She kissed me. Quick. Soft. Tell Harlan to burn it all. The bodies, the barn, everything. Fire disrupts their frequency too. Then she pulled away and walked into the tear. The effect was immediate. The figures stopped moving. Froze in place. The tear began to fluctuate. Shrink and expand randomly. Everyone out, Harlan shouted. Burn it. Burn everything. We ran. Behind us, Bishop's team was already spreading accelerant. The farm erupted in flames, but I stayed at the edge of the property, watching, waiting. The tear was still there. Smaller, but there. And through it, I could see Ada, standing among the collected. But she wasn't screaming, she was smiling. Then the barn collapsed. The tear snapped shut. The figures vanished. Silence. Is it over? Someone asked. No, Harlan said. But we bought time and information. At what cost? He looked at me. I'm sorry about Ada. She knew. She saw it in the visions. Her death here. She saved us all. Did she? Or did she just delay the inevitable? No one answered. We returned to the command vehicle. The monitors showed the farm burning. Local fire departments were already responding. They'd find bodies, evidence of crimes, but not the truth, never the truth. What now? I asked Harlan. Now we use what we learned. The weapons worked, fireworks, and volunteers can crash their system. You're going to ask people to sacrifice themselves? I'm going to tell people the truth. Let them decide. The truth breaks worlds. You said so yourself. Then maybe it's time for a broken world, better than a collected one. I thought about Ada, somewhere in that other place, conscious, aware, possibly forever. I want to go back, I said. Back where? To my truck, my old life. I want to pretend none of this happened. You can't. You know too much. You've seen too much. Then what's the point? We're all going to end up collected anyway. Not if we fight. Fight what? Programs left by ancient beings? Tears in reality? Human collaborators we can't identify? Yes, all of it. You're insane. Maybe. But I'm not giving up. He handed me a phone. Keep this. Stay in touch. We might need you again. I won't come. Yes, you will. Because Ada would want you to. I took the phone, left the command vehicle, started walking down the dark highway. Behind me, the farm still burned. Ahead, the road stretched into darkness. I thought about hitchhiking, finding a ride, going somewhere, anywhere. But then I saw them. Just two this time, standing by the road, watching. They didn't approach, didn't glide, just stood there. She's still there, a voice said in my head. Still conscious, still aware, waiting. Waiting for what? For you to join her, voluntarily, like she did. Never. Never is a long time, and we are patient. They faded away, but I knew they'd be back. They always came back. I kept walking. A truck stopped, hazards flashing. The driver leaned out. Need a ride? I looked at him. Normal face, normal eyes, human. "Yeah," I said. "Yeah, I do." "Where you headed?" "Anywhere but here." He laughed. "I hear that. Hop in." I climbed into the cab. It smelled like coffee and cigarettes. Normal. Safe. "Name's Pete," the driver said. "David," I lied. "Well, David, you look like you've had a hell of a night." "You have no idea." We drove east, away from the burning farm, away from the memories, but not away from the truth, because the truth followed in every shadow, every reflection, every moment of silence. Ada was gone, but the figures remained, the cracks remained, the threat remained, and somewhere in that other place, millions of witnesses waited, conscious, aware, eternal. The war wasn't over, it had just begun, but that night, in that truck, heading east on I-80, I just wanted to pretend I was just another trucker, just another person who'd never seen too much. Pete turned on the radio. Classic rock, normal, human. I closed my eyes, tried not to think about Ada, tried not to see the other place, but behind my eyelids they were there. The figures. Pete dropped me off at a truck stop outside Davenport just as the sun was coming up. Said he was heading south. I thanked him for the ride. Watched him drive away. The truck stop was busy. Morning shift. Drivers fueling up, grabbing coffee, checking loads. Normal world doing normal things. I envied them. I used the phone Harlan gave me to call dispatch. Told them I'd had a medical emergency. The truck was abandoned outside Des Moines. They weren't happy, but they said they'd send someone to recover it. My career was probably over. Abandoning a load was the kind of thing that followed you. But I didn't care. I had bigger problems. I rented a motel room across the street, cheap place, bed bugs and water stains. Perfect for disappearing. I needed sleep. Real sleep. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw Ada walking into that tear, choosing to cross over. The phone rang at 3 p.m. Harlan. We found something in the farm's basement, documents, lists of names. Witnesses, future witnesses, people they planned to expose to crimes, to create more cracks. How many names? Thousands, across 6 states. Jesus. We're trying to warn them. But how do you tell someone they're being targeted by interdimensional entities? You don't. You just protect them. We don't have the resources. There are 12 of us who know about this. 12 against thousands of collaborators and millions of entities. Then you're going to lose. Not if we can find their source. The original crack. The first witness. How old are these things? According to the documents, the modern wave started in 1952. A farmer in Nebraska saw something he shouldn't have. Military experiment gone wrong. He was the first collection. 1952. They've been taking people for 70 years. Longer. But 1952 was when they got organized. When they found human collaborators. Who? Who's helping them? We're still working on that. But it's big. Government level, corporate level. People with power who benefit from witnesses disappearing. I thought about all the missing persons cases, all the unexplained disappearances. How many were collections? There's something else, Harlan said. We found references to a failsafe, something called the Great Collection. What's that? Mass collection. Everyone who's ever witnessed anything, all at once. That's millions of people. Billions, potentially. Anyone who's seen a crime, an accident, an injustice. The entities have been marking them all. When? Soon. The documents suggest they're waiting for critical mass. When there are more witnesses than non-witnesses. How do we stop it? Find the source. Close the original crack. It might cascade, close all the others. Might? It's theoretical. Based on what Ada did at the farm. Her voluntary crossing caused a localized collapse. Ada. I tried not to think about her, failed. I can't help you, I said. I'm done. I understand. But Ezekiel, they're still watching you. You're marked. Whether you help us or not, you're part of this. I looked out the window. Across the parking lot, they were there. 3 figures, standing perfectly still. They're here, I said. How many? 3. That's new. They usually appear in pairs or groups of 4. What does it mean? I don't know, but be careful. He hung up. I watched the figures for an hour. They didn't move, didn't glide, just stood there. Then one of them raised its hand, pointed at the motel, not at my room, at the room next door. I heard a scream, muffled, cut short. I grabbed the tire iron I'd bought at a hardware store, went to the door, listened. Silence. I knocked on the neighboring door. Everything okay in there? No answer. I tried the handle. Unlocked. The door swung open. The room was empty, but wrong empty. Like someone had been there seconds ago. The bed was still warm, coffee still steaming on the nightstand, TV still on. But no person. I checked the bathroom, nothing. Closet, nothing. Then I saw it. On the mirror. Written in condensation. You're next. I backed out of the room. The figures were gone from the parking lot, but I could feel them, nearby, watching. I got in my rented car, drove. No destination. Just away. The phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Ezekiel Boone? A woman's voice, older, scared. Who's this? My name is Margaret Chen. Harlan Vance gave me your number. Said you might be able to help. Help with what? My daughter, she's seeing things that aren't there, or things that shouldn't be there. What kind of things? People. Identical people. Standing outside our house. My blood went cold. Where are you? Waterloo, Iowa. Please, can you come? The police think we're crazy. I should have said no, should have hung up. But I thought about Ada, about her choice to help. I'll be there in 2 hours. The drive to Waterloo was tense. I kept checking mirrors, looking for figures, for dark vehicles following. Nothing. Which was almost worse. The Chen house was in a suburban neighborhood. Normal, safe-looking. I parked out front. Margaret Chen answered the door. Asian woman, maybe 50, exhausted eyes. Thank you for coming. I didn't know who else to call. Where's your daughter? Upstairs. She hasn't left her room in 3 days. Says they're waiting for her. Can I see her? She led me upstairs. Knocked on a door covered in band posters. Lily, someone's here to help. They can't help, a voice said from inside. Young, maybe 16. Can I come in? I asked. Pause, then, are you marked too? Yes. The door unlocked, opened. A teenage girl stood there, thin, pale, dark circles under her eyes. You can see them? She asked. Yes. How long? Few weeks. I've been seeing them for 3 days, since I witnessed. Witnessed what? She looked at her mom, then back at me. My teacher. Mr. Brandon. I saw him, with a student, after school. In his car. Margaret gasped. Lily, why didn't you tell me? Because, right after I saw it, they appeared. The figures. And Mr. Brandon, he saw me seeing him, and he smiled, like he wanted me to see. He's a collaborator, I said. He exposed you on purpose. Why? To create another witness, another crack. I don't understand any of this, Margaret said. I explained, as simply as I could, the entities, The other place, the collections. Margaret's face went from confused to terrified. So they're going to take my daughter? Not if I can help it. But I had no idea how to help. Ada was the one who understood them, who could hear them. I was just a trucker who'd stopped to help the wrong person. Show me where they appear, I said to Lily. She led me to her window, pointed. There, by the mailbox, usually 4 of them, sometimes more. I looked, saw nothing. They're not there now. They come at night, always at night. Have they tried to enter the house? No, just stand there. Watching, waiting. Has anyone else seen them? Besides you? My boyfriend thought he saw something, a shadow, but not clearly. Good, that means the connection isn't strong yet. You can still break it. How? I thought about what Ada had done. Her sacrifice. But I couldn't ask that of a 16-year-old girl. We need to confront the source. Mr. Brandon, if he's a collaborator, he might have a way to call them off. He won't, Lily said. He's evil, I can see it now, have always seen it. But I thought I was imagining things. Where does he live? I don't know, but he's at school now. Parent-teacher conferences. I looked at Margaret. We need to go there, all of us. I'm not taking my daughter near that man. She's already marked. Distance doesn't matter now, but confrontation might. It was a risk, but doing nothing was a bigger risk. We drove to the school. Parking lot half full. Normal parents doing normal things, unaware of the danger among them. Stay close, I told them, and whatever happens, don't separate. We walked into the school. Fluorescent lights, bulletin boards, the smell of cafeteria food. Normal. Except for the feeling, that watched feeling. His room's on the 2nd floor, Lily said. We climbed the stairs, down a hallway, door at the end. Mr. Brandon, science. I knocked, no answer. Tried the handle. Locked. He's probably in the gym, Lily said. That's where the conferences are. We headed back down, toward the gym, but halfway there, Lily stopped, grabbed my arm. They're here. I looked around, saw nothing. Where? Not visible yet, but I can feel them, a lot of them. Keep moving. We entered the gym, dozens of tables set up, parents talking to teachers. And there, at a corner table, was Mr. Brandon, young man, maybe 30, clean cut, talking to a mother about her son's grades. He saw us, saw Lily, smiled. We walked over, waited for the other parent to leave. Lily, he said, I didn't expect to see you here. We need to talk, I said. And you are? Someone who knows what you're doing. His smile didn't waver. I'm afraid I don't understand. The figures, the entities. You're feeding them witnesses. Now his smile widened. You're one of them, the marked. I can smell it on you. Call them off. Leave the girl alone. I can't do that. She's already been selected. The process has begun. Then stop it. Why would I? Do you know what they offer us? The collaborators? Protection, power, a place in the new world. What new world? The merged world. When the barriers fall completely. When the collected return. Return? They can return? Oh yes. Changed, of course, improved, servants of the new order. You're insane. Am I? Look around. The world is breaking already. Climate, politics, society, all crumbling. The merge is just the next step. And you're helping it happen. I'm ensuring my survival, and the survival of those smart enough to collaborate. Margaret stepped forward. You're a teacher. You're supposed to protect children. I am protecting them. From the chaos that's coming, the collected will be safe. preserved, as slaves, as evolved beings, beyond human, beyond suffering. Ada didn't look evolved, I said. She looked terrified. Brandon's eye twitched. Ada Whitmore. You knew her? I was with her when she crossed over. Impossible. No one crosses over and returns. She didn't return. She chose to cross, to break your system. Now his smile was gone. She caused significant damage. Set us back months. Good. But only temporarily. The Great Collection is still coming. Days now, not weeks. How do we stop it? He laughed. You don't. It's already in motion. Every witness, every marked soul will be collected simultaneously. Billions gone in an instant. There has to be a way. Kill every collaborator. Close every crack. Destroy every anchor. Impossible. Where's the first crack? The original. His eyes narrowed. Why would I tell you that? Because you're proud. You want someone to appreciate the scope of what you've done. He considered, then, Scottsbluff, Nebraska, an abandoned military facility. That's where it started, but it's too heavily guarded, by us and them. Them? The entities have a physical presence there, not just projections, actual manifestations. Why there? Because that's where the first experiment happened. The thing the farmer saw, a doorway, a deliberate attempt to breach reality. Who was running the experiment? Does it matter? They're long dead, or collected. Everything matters. Then look up Project Insight. 1952, Military Intelligence, Psychic Warfare Division. Before I could respond, Lily screamed, pointed at the windows. They were there. Hundreds of figures, surrounding the building. It's starting, Brandon said. The collection of this town, you brought them here, you know, your presence. 2 marked souls together, it's like a beacon. Parents were starting to panic. Not because they saw the figures, but because the lights were flickering, the temperature dropping. Everyone out, someone shouted. Stampede toward the exits, but the doors wouldn't open. Sealed. You did this, I said to Brandon. No, they did. When enough gather, they can affect physical reality. How do we stop them? You don't. But there had to be a way. Ada found a way. Fire, I said. Fire disrupts them. You want to burn down a school? I want to save these people. The figures were entering now, walking through walls. People couldn't see them but could feel them. The wrongness, the cold. The chemistry lab, Lily said. Burners, chemicals. That could work, I said. Margaret, get Lily out. Find another exit. What about you? I'm going to create a distraction. I ran toward the chemistry lab. Brandon followed. Not to help, to watch. You're wasting your time, he said. Maybe. The lab was unlocked. I turned on every gas burner, looked for accelerants, found alcohol, acetone. This will kill people, Brandon said. No, it'll save them. I started pouring chemicals on the floor. The smell was overwhelming. You're insane. I learned from the best. I pulled out Harlan's phone, called him. The school in Waterloo, I said. Mass collection in progress. I'm going to try fire. We're 20 minutes out. Might be too late. Do what you can. I hung up, looked at Brandon. Last chance, call them off. I can't. No one can. Once a mass collection starts, it's autonomous. Then get out. I want to watch. I lit a paper towel, dropped it in the alcohol. The floor erupted in flames. The effect was immediate. The figures in the lab wavered, became less solid. The fire was working, but it was spreading too fast, out of control. We need to go, I said. Brandon was staring at the flames. Beautiful. Chaos and order meeting. I grabbed him, dragged him out. The hallway was chaos. People running, screaming, but the doors were opening now. The figures' hold weakening. I found Margaret and Lily near an exit. Go, get out! We ran into the parking lot. Behind us, the school was burning, fire alarms blaring, but the figures were retreating, fading. It worked, Lily said, for now. Fire trucks were arriving, then police, then Harlan's black SUVs. Brandon tried to slip away. Harlan's team grabbed him. Mr. Brandon, Harlan said, we have questions. I want a lawyer. You're beyond lawyers now. They took him away. To where, I didn't ask. Harlan approached me. You did good. I burned down a school. You saved lives. The entities were preparing a mass collection. Hundreds would have vanished. Brandon said the great collection is days away. We know. We're mobilizing everyone we have. It won't be enough. No, but we have to try. He told me about Scottsbluff, the original breach. Harlan's eyes sharpened. What about it? Project Insight, 1952. That's where this started. Then that's where we end it. It's heavily defended by collaborators and physical entities. Then we go in heavy, full assault. That's suicide. Maybe. But what's the alternative? Let billions be collected? I thought about Ada, her sacrifice, her choice. I'm coming with you, I said. You don't have to. Yes, I do. For Ada. When? Tomorrow night. We hit them when they're strongest, when the barriers are thinnest. Why then? Because that's when we can do the most damage. Not just to them, to the entire system. It was insane, but everything about this was insane. I looked at Lily and Margaret. You should run. Leave Iowa. Go somewhere populated. Big city. Lots of people. Will that keep us safe? Margaret asked. No, but it might buy you time. They left. I hoped they'd make it. But I doubted it. The great collection was coming, and when it did, nowhere would be safe. That night, I sat in a motel room with Harlan and his team. Planning, preparing, knowing most of us wouldn't survive. There's something else, Harlan said. We've been analyzing the patterns, the collections. They're not random. Brandon said they're collecting all witnesses. No, they're collecting specific types. People who've seen certain kinds of truths, crimes, yes, but also other things. Anomalies. Glitches in reality. What kind of glitches? Mandela effects, déjà vu, prophetic dreams, people who notice when reality changes. Reality changes? Small ways. Street names, historical dates, like someone's editing the timeline. Who? We don't know. But the entities are connected to it. They're not just collecting witnesses. They're collecting people who might notice the edits. So this is about more than just crimes. It's about controlling reality itself, making sure no one notices the changes. Changes to what end? We don't know. But tomorrow, at Scottsbluff, we might find out. I looked out the window. They were there. Dozens of figures, watching, waiting. They know we're coming, I said. Good, let them prepare. It won't matter. But I knew it would matter. We were walking into a trap, just like Ada had. And like her, we might not walk out. But we had to try, for Ada, for Lily, for everyone marked for collection. The war between worlds was about to begin. And tomorrow night, in Scottsbluff, Nebraska, it would end, one way or another. I closed my eyes, tried to sleep. Behind my eyelids, Ada was there, standing in that other place, surrounded by the collected. "We're coming," I whispered. In the vision, she shook her head, mouthed a single word. "Don't." But it was too late. The choice was made. Tomorrow, we would assault the original breach. Tomorrow, we would face the source. Tomorrow, everything would change. The figures outside multiplied, hundreds now, all facing the motel, all waiting. They knew what was coming. So did I. The question was, would any of us survive it? I thought about my truck, still abandoned somewhere outside Des Moines, full of medical supplies that never reached their destination. Lives that might have been saved. But maybe that was the point. Maybe every choice, every action, every moment of helping or not helping created cracks. Not just witnessing crimes, but witnessing life itself. Maybe we were all marked from the moment we opened our eyes. Maybe collection was inevitable. But Ada had proved one thing. We had a choice. We could go willingly, or we could fight. Tomorrow, in Scottsbluff, we would fight. The phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello?" Static. Then a voice. Distorted. Wrong. "Ezekiel Boone. Who is this?" "We are the architects, the ones who opened the first door." "You're dead. The experiment was 70 years ago. Dead, alive, collected. The distinctions blur. We exist between, like your Ada. What do you want?" "To warn you. Scottsbluff is not what you think. The breach is not accidental. We opened it deliberately." "Why?" "To escape. This reality is dying, has been for decades. We sought another, found it. But it was already occupied. By the entities. By the previous evacuees, others who fled dying realities. Layer upon layer of refugees, all collected, all preserved. So, the entities are automated systems, left behind to manage the collected, but the programming has degraded. Now they collect everyone. How do we stop them? You can't. You can only join us, willingly or be forced. There has to be another way. There is, but the cost, what cost? Close all breaches. Seal both realities. Trap the collected forever, including your Ada. My heart sank. She'd be trapped in that place? Forever. Conscious, aware, alone with billions of others. There has to be a way to free them. There is no freedom, only collection or isolation. You're lying. Perhaps? Tomorrow you'll discover the truth if you survive. The line went dead. I told Harlan about the call. His face was grim. Could be a trick. Psychological warfare. Could be. But what if it's true? What if closing the breach traps everyone? Then we make that choice. Save billions by condemning millions. That's not a choice, that's genocide. No, that's war. But I couldn't stop thinking about Ada, trapped forever, because of my actions. The next morning, we loaded into armored vehicles, 20 operators, all the experimental weapons we had, driving toward the Scottsbluff, toward the end, or the beginning. I still didn't know which. The figures followed, a parade of watchers, growing with every mile. By the time we reached Nebraska, there were thousands, all converging on Scottsbluff, all waiting for the final collection. The abandoned facility came into view as the sun set. Concrete buildings, rusted fences, and in the center, a structure that shouldn't exist. A tower of impossible geometry, angles that hurt to perceive, surfaces that shifted when observed. That wasn't in the satellite images, someone said. It's new, Harlan replied, or newly visible. What is it? The anchor, the physical manifestation of the breach. We stopped a mile out. set up position. "Remember," Harlan said, "we go in fast, hit the tower, plant the charges, get out." "What about the entities?" "The weapons should hold them back. Long enough." "Should? It's all theoretical. We've never faced this many." We moved in formation, through the fence, across the compound. The figures appeared immediately, not dozens, not hundreds, thousands. Filling every space, a sea of blank faces. "Weapons free!" The pulse weapons fired, creating corridors through the entities. But for every one that wavered, 2 more appeared. "Keep moving!" We fought our way to the tower. Up close, it was worse. Not just impossible. Wrong. Like reality itself was broken around it. "Plant the charges." But as the team moved forward, the tower opened, not a door, a mouth. And from it came something worse than entities, the collected, but changed. Twisted. No longer human. Multi-limbed. Multi-faced. Screaming from mouths that shouldn't exist. "Fall back!" But there was nowhere to go. Surrounded. Entities behind. Abominations ahead. This was the trap. This was the end. Then I heard it. Ada's voice, not in my head, in the air. "Ezekiel." She walked out of the tower. But not the Ada I knew. This Ada was partially transparent. Partially there. Partially elsewhere. "You came. Ada. You shouldn't have. I had to save you." She smiled, sad, broken. "I'm already saved, and damned, and everything between. We can close the breach, end this. Yes, but everyone here will be trapped, including me. There has to be another way." "There is." She held out her hand. "Come with me, voluntarily, all of you. It will crash the system completely, not just delay, destroy. That's suicide. That's sacrifice." I looked at Harlan, at his team. Young faces, determined faces, about to die. "There's another way," I said. "We go in, some of us, volunteers. The rest seal the breach from outside. That's still suicide for those who go, but not for everyone." Harlan stepped forward. "I'll go." "No," I said. "This is my fight, my choice." Others volunteered, half the team, the brave half, or the stupid half. "Do it," Harlan said. "Seal it, whatever the cost." We walked toward Ada, toward the tower. The entities parted. Confused, their programming unable to process voluntary collection. At the threshold, I looked back. "Tell Lily she was brave. Tell Margaret her daughter will be safe." Then we entered. The inside was vast, larger than possible, filled with the collected. Millions, billions, all conscious, all screaming. And at the center, the source. Not a machine, not an entity. A child, a young boy, maybe 10, sitting cross-legged, eyes closed. "The first witness," Ada said, "the farmer's son. He saw the experiment, saw his father die. The trauma broke him, and his broken mind broke reality. He's been here for 70 years? Time works differently here. He's been here forever and never. How do we stop him? We don't. We heal him. How? By showing him he's not alone." She took my hand, led me to the boy. We sat beside him. "It's okay," she said softly. "You can let go now." The boy opened his eyes. They were ancient, older than worlds. "I can't. They won't let me." "Who won't?" "The voices, the witnesses, they're all in here." He touched his head. "All their truths, all their pain." "Share it," Ada said, "with us. It will destroy you. We're already destroyed. Share it." The boy reached out, touched our hands. The flood of images was overwhelming. Every crime ever witnessed, every truth ever hidden, every pain ever inflicted. I screamed, or thought I did, hard to tell where I ended and the others began. But through it all, Ada held on, anchoring me, anchoring us all. "Let it flow through," she said. "Don't hold it. Let it pass." And slowly it did. The images flowed, through us, past us. Out of the boy, he began to change, grow younger, smaller, until he was just a child again. "I want my daddy," he whispered. "He's here," Ada said, "in the collection. We'll find him." The tower began to shake, the geometries shifting, collapsing. "It's working," I said. "Yes, but we need to go now." "Go where? We're inside." "Through, to the other side, the real other side." She pulled us deeper into the tower, through walls that weren't walls, through spaces that weren't spaces, until we emerged. Not in the twisted world, not in our world, somewhere else, somewhere quiet. "What is this place?" "The space between, where the programmers rest, where the system resets." "Are we dead?" "We're paused, while reality repairs itself." Behind us, the tower was collapsing, taking the breach with it, sealing both worlds. "The collected," I said. "They're trapped." "No, they're freed." The boys release cascades, every witness released, returning home. But different. Yes, changed, but alive. And us? We're the paradox we exist between, neither collected nor free. Forever? Until someone opens another breach. Then we become the new guardians, the new entities. That's horrible. That's balance. I thought about it. An eternity guarding the walls between worlds, with Ada. "Could be worse," I said. She smiled. "Could be." In the distance I could see others, the volunteers who came with us, the previous guardians, all waiting. "What now?" I asked. "Now we watch. We wait. We prevent. For how long? Until the last witness forgets. Until the last truth is buried. Until reality stops needing cracks. So, forever. Maybe. Or maybe just until tomorrow." She took my hand. We walked toward the others. Behind us, the worlds sealed. The breach closed. The collection ended. But ahead, infinity waited. And somewhere, in a rebuilt reality, Ezekiel Boone's truck was found. Medical supplies delivered. Lives saved. A small redemption in an ocean of loss. But sometimes small redemptions are enough. Sometimes they're everything.